The scene opens in a vibrant city, alive with the clamor and buzz of a festival, illuminated by countless twinkling lights along the streets. Elderly folks stroll in cheerful groups, their laughter ringing out as they head to join the festivities. Families revel in the moment, with fathers hoisting their children onto their shoulders, sharing in the joy of the day. Venturing deeper into the celebration, we encounter a grand building surrounded by throngs of elegant figures clad in kimonos. In the next moment, a mustached man gapes, mouth wide, ready to shovel in another massive bite. Onlookers freeze, gawking in disbelief, unable to fathom how he can consume such quantities. Some murmur about intervening. This glutton seems on the verge of bursting from the sheer volume of food. The man wolfs down staggering amounts, bewildering those nearby. Oblivious to their stares, he eats on, tears streaming down his face. Whispers ripple through the crowd about his odd conduct, but local vendors merely snicker. One explains to a curious outsider that this voracious eater is a known figure in Hunan. His renown stems not from his appearance, but his authority. The vendor cautions that it's a grave error to judge someone by their exterior. This massive, rotund figure has unified all the region's trade guilds, achieving a monumental feat and now taking a moment to rest. Known as Rin of the Heavenly Ocean Union, his name is familiar to every food enthusiast and deal seeker. While an average person eats 3 meals daily, this man devours 3 days' worth in a single sitting. His servant pleads with him to stop, worried for his master's well-being. Outsiders can hardly believe that this heavy-set man was once a lean, striking youth. Rin appears to bury his inner turmoil in overeating, his eyes brimming with sorrow as he flees from haunting memories. The servant refuses to face his master's struggles, insisting that collapsing into a dish is no fitting end for a dignified man. He gazes at the girl Yunhua, softly weeping as he murmurs her name. In the next scene, 2 men travel in a horse-drawn cart, winding through a dense forest. Riches and treasures no longer bring him joy. Surrounded by opulence, his gaze is lost in emptiness. All he has amassed feels like a hollow weight. Even the shimmer of wealth cannot mask the void in his heart. The heir seeks to mend his soul's deep wounds through gluttony and companionship. Yet nightmares drag him back to the day his loved ones perished. Yunhua's maid still calls him young master, despite his years leading the trade alliance. To her, he remains Tian Jun's successor. Rin suddenly notices the lines etched on his loyal companion's face, a stark reminder of the years he spent fleeing from his own truth. Long ago, he abandoned his clan for a marriage of convenience. Yunhua stood by him, his sole anchor in an unfamiliar household. He admits he sees her as family, not a servant. Without her, he wouldn't have endured the horrific night when Tianzhong collapsed. He recalls despising his entire kin, but his resentment toward his father burned fiercer than anything else. That loathing once drove him to erect a statue in his father's place, a choice that now feels like the petty act of a bitter youth. Eventually, he severed all ties with his family. The estrangement, the forced marriage, the shame, Yunhua bore it all willingly. But the clan's slaughter by the Dabi sect transformed him. Kneeling before his burning home, he was flooded with emotions for those he'd lost. The fire that devoured his house laid bare a painful truth. His hatred for his father was merely love's shadow, a devastating realization. In a storm of grief and fury, he smashes his head against the statue he built to spite his father. His younger sister, witnessing this, rushed to halt her anguished brother, desperate to keep him from joining their fallen kin. When she finally stopped Yong, he collapsed, sobbing. Blood and tears mixed on his face as he lay broken on the ground. The scene shifts from that fateful day back to the present, inside the same wagon where the now older, noticeably corpulent protagonist rides. The heir resolves to transform. He tells his servant he aims to repair his bond with his wife, shed his excess weight, and step out from the past's shadow. His years of mourning are done. It's time to cherish those still by his side. Even his wife's aloofness won't deter him. Yunhua, hearing his pledge, gazes at him with hope. To her, the young master has finally reawakened. Suddenly, an object crashes through the wagon's wooden wall, slamming into the maid's ribs. The hefty man is flung backward, his mustache whipping in the wind from the abrupt strike to his side. The projectile, whatever it was, tears through, leaving a hole in the wagon and fractured bones in its wake. Yunhua Rin tumbles from the carriage, his beads and trinkets scattering as they break free. His overfed organs protest, his flabby frame writhing on the ground as he emits a feeble moan. The culprit emerges, a gray-haired elder, poised for a second strike. But the old man's plan fails. An unseen force slams him against a tree, blood gushing from his aged lips. A ninja, long in pursuit, closes in from behind, clearly outmatched by the gray-haired foe. The ninja lunges, plunging katanas into multiple points across the old man's body. The demon master teeters on the edge of ruin, encircled by foes. Warned of certain defeat, he remains chillingly composed. Even as death looms, he taunts his foes, ridiculing their vain attempts to bring him down. He greets death like an old friend, his final words aimed at the betrayer who once called him master. Yet his legacy endures. The spirit possession technique he perfected will pave the way for his comeback. Even in defeat, surrender is not in his nature. Carrying the demon master's stigma has haunted him for years. Now, stripped of his soul, he vows to reshape his fate. After the demon scatters the ninjas across the glade, we see the hefty man stirring awake. He heaves his bulky frame upright, pressing his hands to the ground to survey his surroundings. Nearby, he spots his cherished companion lying motionless. Is she alive, or has she slipped away? Noticing blood pooling around her, he recalls the carriage's impact struck her hardest. Ignoring his own pain, he rushes to her side, consumed by fear for Yunhua's life. Cradling her, he sees blood streaking her face. Her spirit has already departed. Clutching his beloved servant's lifeless form, he unleashes a cry that shakes the heavens. Tears streaming, he screams skyward, demanding why such tragedy always befalls him. The scene shifts back to the old man. Evidently, the demon has silenced all his adversaries. There's a catch. The consciousness transfer technique is his final gambit. His spirit seeks a fitting host while his old body's heart still pulses. The plan is straightforward. A young, gifted warrior would make an ideal vessel. He just needs to find some unfortunate soul. A lifetime's odyssey halts at the most unforeseen moment. The master of deception, ironically, has been ensnared in his own trap. A man confronts him, accusing the demon master of slaughtering his kin. His rage drives his vengeance, but his foe only smirks. He seizes the old man's robes, demanding a response to his charges. The grandfather scoffs, unburdened by guilt. Clan conflicts are the way of the world. The weak's tears merely annoy him. He lifts a finger charged with demonic energy, poised to strike the accuser. The old man hammers a flurry of blows into his hefty gut. Precise strikes target vital points, dropping the man to the ground like a heavy sack. Yunhua's body defies him, trapped in a foreign shell where the original owner resists. His legs refuse to budge, and his hands tremble. The grandfather recalls this body once belonged to a formidable warrior. Now it's frail, and time is slipping away. A misstep dooms his scheme. His last resort is to channel 160 years of chi and soul energy into a new host. The gamble is immense, but the alternative is oblivion. His left hand brims with pure chi energy, his right with a dense pulse of spiritual force. These forces must fuse in the new body, achieving flawless harmony. Though he scornfully dubs the vessel a swine's husk, the ritual begins. A flicker of another's life kindles in his core. The hefty man shoves his old form aside, his technique once more granting him extended life. A ghastly demonic grin spreads across his face. The rite has succeeded. Have I failed? The thought flares as true chi overwhelms his resolve. The demon master clings fiercely to his mind, but the body rebels. He rejects defeat. Years of scheming, hidden arts, all for this moment. How could it slip away? His tenacious will to survive works miracles. His spirit defies the demon, stunning the man. You call me master. There's your answer. Echoes in their minds. But his energy wanes. The enemy closes in, poised to land the killing strike. Even now, the demon master chuckles, plotting his next gambit. Abruptly, the same ninja from before rises from a corpse, taunting the demon about his leap to yet another body. The ninja springs forward, brandishing his katana, proclaiming the end of the demon master's parasitic existence. Pain cleaves his skull. The ninja's blade slices through the demon's neck with lethal precision. The technique succeeded, but at what price? A brilliant, radiant flash illuminates the forest, bathing the area in light, marking the demise of malevolence. He stirs awake, his throat parched and aching. No foes or friends in sight. Only stillness and a nagging question, where am I? His first steps in this unfamiliar realm are shaky, yet they offer a fresh beginning. He gulps down water greedily, a vital act after such a brutal ordeal and jarring revival. The liquid isn't mere water. It's laced with a medicinal tang, its taste off-putting to him. Glancing at his hands, he shrieks in terror at their alien appearance. Unaware of what's amiss, he hasn't yet seen the full extent of his new body. The Tianzhong clan, once a mighty martial lineage near the Hunan Mountains, once rallied all nearby houses under its banner. Their renown echoed through the name Tianzhong, but over time, their glory dimmed. 3 decades later, no vestige of their former might remains. They're now just an unremarkable clan. The people's offer the clan has faded, and the absence of skilled warriors following elder Yong Gosang's death proved a crippling blow. The current leader, Yong Bian, watches the decline with a heavy heart. His son Werin is their last hope for renewal, but the youth is lost in his own musings. Clan members have accepted their fall into obscurity. Talks of the future devolve into bleak jests. No one has the vigor to dispute their decay. All expectations rest on Werin, with many believing he could steer the clan's future, yet his troubling state raises concern. His father curses himself for his rushed remarriage after his wife's passing. His companion urges him to empathize with his son's perspective. Efforts to bridge the gap with Werin only widen their divide. Werin erects a statue in the garden, a stark emblem of their estrangement. Manhwa, a young girl, rushes in with dire news. The young master is unconscious. Her tearful words falter, but the looming crisis is unmistakable. Werin's father strives to stay composed, though his trembling hands reveal his dread. A past rift resurfaces. The garden statue now feels like a grim portent. Manhwa reveals that young master Werin has gravely injured himself and hovers in a perilous state of uncertainty. The clan leader and his companion stare at the girl in stunned disbelief. The clan's vital heir is in grave peril. A young man lies in bed, wincing, his head throbs, and his condition is far from stable. Nightmares plague his restless mind. Memories of youth flicker. He and his mother by a rocky stream near a waterfall. Little Werin nets carp with his mother by the falls, her laughter mingling with the water's splash, echoes of joyful times. Now the waterfall is hushed. The carp have vanished, and the boy who once fished stands petrified. The place that once brought him life now mirrors his grief. He watches his mother collapse on the rocky bank and scrambles to her side to help. The scene shifts to a grand bed where a frail woman lies, her weeping son curled beside her, wrapped in a blanket. Werin's mother, weakened by illness, whispers apologies for leaving him to face the waterfall alone. Her trembling hand brushes his hair, a tender, final act of love before their eternal parting. He swears to honor her memory, but the agony of loss twists his vow into a burden. The waterfall now embodies his solitude. A sudden scream pierces his thoughts as a demon invades his memories, clutching his head. He begs for the cursed tears to cease. The demon gapes, poised to tear into the protagonist's skull. Abruptly, Wherein bolts upright in his room, realizing with relief it was only a nightmare. Thrust back into the past, he scans his childhood chamber. The once familiar walls feel foreign, as if they belong to someone else's life. The resentment toward his father, the isolation, the family's coldness, all must be faced again. But now, he wields knowledge of what's to come. Visions of the clan's downfall resurface with stark vividness. Wherein dissects past errors, the death of his father, the Dabi sect's assault, his own helplessness. He can rewrite it all, break free from his torment. This is his opportunity to reshape his fate. Suddenly, he hears children near his window conversing about his destiny and possibilities. He looks at them. Rumors that he smashed the statue with his forehead are puzzling. How could a sick man who hadn't studied martial arts do that? The answer lies in his awakened energy. Unable to endure all the speeches, he bursts out of the yard and takes them by surprise. They turn on him and say of how they didn't mean anything bad about the young gentleman. Wherein's body suddenly floods with heat. The lower dantian pulsed with Yong energy, burning from within. Thoughts of a woman mingle with shame. Control over his body is weakening. Energy demands an outlet, threatening to burn the mind. The boy realizes that all this is not his desire. He barely restrains the impulse, realizing that it is a consequence of the transfer of the elder's soul. The excess of energy is pushing Heir to the limit. Every movement is painful and his mind is foggy. He realizes that if he doesn't find a way to stabilize the chi, the irreversible will happen. When he manages to get rid of this nativity, he snaps out of his seat and runs past the children to somewhere ahead. The people left behind realize that he shouldn't be out in public in front of everyone in those clothes. The old master's energy is eating Heir from the inside out. He tries to concentrate, but his body grows weak and his mind is sucked into an abyss of pain. The young man fights the onslaught, realizing procrastination is like death. A sudden splash of water brings him back to reality. Where did he go? Heir finds himself at a waterfall, a place where he once felt peace. Now, it is a symbol of the struggle between the past and the future. He finally cures his body heat in the cold water and realizes that, but is saved. A father catches his son out in the cold, worried about his health. He runs to him in front of a crowd of people. He jumps in and tries to get to the main character as fast as possible. A scar from a recent incident is visible on the young man's forehead. His father examines him silently, hiding a mixture of hope and fear. A fragile thread of understanding emerges between them for the first time in years. He asks if his forehead and head in general are all right, but Heir, usually unemotional, suddenly confesses, "I've missed you, father." The young man realizes that if they just stand there like this, it's going to be weird. We have to do something. Heir decides to get closer to his family gradually. And it is here and at this very moment that he must begin. His attempts look unnatural, but he perseveres. Even the odd compliment to his father is part of the plan. They hug, and the son pronounces that now he's back, and everything will be okay. The boy thinks that if this is a dream, may it never end. Returning to the past has given him a chance, but the fear of making a mistake is worse than any pain. 3 months of relationship work is paying off. He's sitting on a pier fishing with someone. Wherein is in regular contact with Kijong, the half-brother whose injury once ruined the clan. Their fishing together surprises everyone. Even the stakes become a cause for jokes. He thinks about the fact that he was too busy trading in the past, and so was unable to help his brother in his time of need. A young man refuses the medication given to him for treatment, explaining, "They made me fat." Kijong laughs and marvels, not realizing that behind this decision is the knowledge of future disaster. Their rivalry in catching fish ends with the smaller one catching many more fish. A carp fishing competition turns into an unexpected lesson. Kijong accuses Wherein of cheating, but he just smiles. Big fish require patience. He picks up his brother and runs somewhere with him. He yells and squeaks about how he shouldn't do that. But our kid takes and jumps with all his might into the water, pulling his brother with him as well. Later, The young man berates himself for pressuring his brother. His goal is to save the family, not to compete in trivia. Every mistake now seems fatal. Morning meditation and exercise under the waterfall strengthens the body and spirit. All of this is necessary for his plan. Heirin learns to control other people's energy, turning it into a tool that can help him change the future. Suddenly, there's a little girl who brings the hero a towel after his grueling workout. Sister Solin, previously a stranger to him, now shares his plans and says she and he are now friends. Memories of his past life torment Heirin. Twice he rudely rejected Solin, and a year later she was murdered. Now her invitation to the festival sounds like a judgment. In the past she has asked him, "Brother, will you come with me?" She asks. Warren freezes, fighting the urge to run away. His answer will change everything. He rejected her that time, rude and senseless. He hurt a little girl, the fool. She cries, and our hero, or no longer hero, remembers that this was their last dialogue. Solin's fate is sealed, death at the festival, followed by the murder of her father. Warren decides to accompany his sister, disrupting the flow of events. He addresses her by name and with a smile. "Are you really going to go?" She wonders. His decision evokes laughter, but behind it lies fear. Will he be able to cheat fate? Buying clothes for the festival becomes an ordeal. Heirin chooses dark colors, as if preparing for battle. The guy jokes, but he's serious. This is a chance to make things right. In the evening, the young man trains to the point of exhaustion. Strength is the only way to protect those he once lost. The waterfall roars in time with his strokes. We see a column of guys walking in a wedge, with our protagonist walking among them. Heirin used to spend his days in his room, immersed in books and medicines. Now his life has changed. Training and meditation have replaced reclusiveness. The young man feels his body fill with a strength previously unavailable. Every movement is now conscious. He is ready to test new possibilities. Servants whisper about his drastic change, but Heirin ignores the gossip. His goal is not just to regain his health, but to rewrite the fate of the clan. Suddenly his father yells at him while running, and Guy turns to him. A father notices a change in his son. He used to avoid public places, but now he participates in training. The clan head suggests that he officially begin his martial arts training, hiding his pride in his heir's determination. Heirin agrees, but asks him to choose his own teacher. His father is simply glowing with happiness. His choice falls on a secretive wizard that few in the clan know about. His father is surprised, but trusts his son's intuition. They are interrupted by the main character's younger sister, who runs out and calls for her brother. She hugs her brother and turns to her father, asking him all sorts of questions. Sister Xiaolin complains that her brother only pays attention to Kijong. She shows off the new clothes he gave her, but father begrudgingly praises the outfit. There's a flicker of jealousy in his eyes. His son has grown closer to others, but distant from him. Heirin, hearing this, decides to rectify the situation. He confesses to his father that he wants strength not for glory, but to protect his family. These words ease the tension between them. Warren pays a visit to Mo Byong, the sword master known as the Flower Blade. Her training and strength is amazing, and the young man knows she is the one who saved the clan in the past. He asks her to be his mentor, but the woman looks skeptically at the pampered heir. She wonders what he can do, but what surprises her is how quickly the young man has recovered. The boy bows and asks the woman very strongly to be her master for sword training. The girl master marvels at his drive. He hasn't been so determined and resourceful before. Rumors of changes in the air reach the others, but the girl doesn't believe him. After years of hatred, Yong could hardly change. She wonders why the once weak and amorphous young man has suddenly shown an interest in fighting. In the end, she decides to deny Kverin's request for training anyway. The protagonist's face contorted with surprise and incomprehension of the situation. For what but rejection, he was not ready. He catches up with her and asks her to give at least a reason for her refusal. The girl tells him that she is busy investigating the mystery of the technicians. The master doesn't think people can change so quickly and apologizes to the young master. But eventually the protagonist realizes that everyone around him still thinks he's pathetic. This girl does too. Guy recalls how in the past, no one knew about the strong abilities of Master Mo by Yong. But he, as someone who has been in the future, knows that her strength and depth of skill far surpasses other teachers and fighters. She turns back a little and is shocked by what she sees immediately behind her. Warren shocks Mo Byong by kneeling in front of her to change her mind about refusing to train him. The master is outraged. The heir should not humiliate himself before a simple swordswoman. But the young man insists her skills will save them all. He talks about how she's not just a swordswoman to him, but a great warrior and martial artist like no other. Warren recalls how Mo Byong was given the title Bloodflower, not exactly a fitting title for a woman. She contributed the most to the development of their victory in the battle against the Dabi sect. Without her, their loss would have been assured. This woman protected the interests of the clan for a very long time, until her mysterious death one night. He thinks about the fact that this brave woman gave her life for the clan. In this life, he can't let that happen again. After this gesture, the woman ponders the change in the guy's character again and eventually agrees to train him. The young man is greatly surprised and rejoices at his good fortune in getting such a good master to be his teacher. Mo Byong challenges Warren. If he touches her with his sword even once, she will become his mentor. He marvels at such difficult conditions now presented before him, an apprentice with no experience. The master refuses to use chi and clan techniques, relying only on basic skills for greater forging. She looks him in the eye with defiance. Tension rises before an important battle in Heir's life. The young man concentrates, remembering the months of training under the waterfall. It had not been in vain. He had gotten stronger. He throws his head up and screams that he's ready to fight right here and now. The heir realizes that even time regression doesn't make up for her years of experience. Every blow from his teacher is a lesson he remembers at the cost of bruises. The fight ends instantly with Heir falling to the ground, having failed to reach his target. Mo Byong coldly states victory as she turns to leave. Her figure disappears through the doorway, leaving the young man in the dust. He clenches his fists, analyzing every mistake. The power gap is huge, but that's no reason to give up. The thought of the clan's future makes him rise. The boy flies with his sword straight at his future teacher's back, trying to strike her. But the master proves his skills once again and quickly teaches the absent-minded gentleman a lesson. She slaps his face in every direction, proving her superiority. Beaten Guy sits on the ground, clutching his wooden sword tightly for instruction. There seems to be no way he can get his hands on the master. The master gives credit to the young gentleman's efforts, but alas, it didn't work out. So she won't become his apprentice, and the girl hurries to get away from here. The young man's body begins to smoke and glow with a red aura, representing his anger and inner strength. Suddenly, Warren stands up again, using his red aura, an energy foreign to Tianzhong style. Scarlet light envelopes him all over, shocking Mo Byong. Her eyes widen in surprise. His mentor praises his ingenuity, but wonders how he knows the forbidden techniques. The young man remains silent, realizing that he has revealed his cards too soon. She pivots back in surprise and fear of his hitherto uncharted spirit and strength. Mo Byong abruptly interrupts the fight, demanding an explanation. She asks him to return to his normal state, but he interrupts her in a second by covering a distance of dozens of meters and coming face to face with the master. The woman manages to wrestle him away from her, and now they stand across from each other preparing to pounce. She notices his quickness, and the very next second, he is in front of her with a new swing. The guy with the demonic aura finally manages to hit her, but with more force. He pushes her back into the wall. This fight is clearly not a training fight. He pins her against the wall without giving her a chance to move to dodge his deadly blows. The demon's energy bursts out, threatening to kill the master. In desperation, she uses the dragon sword, a very powerful technique. The blade flashes with blue flames, neutralizing the red vortex. Mo Byong watches, mixing fear with admiration. She begins to believe that her apprentice is the key to saving the clan. His sword lightly touches her shoulder. The young man smiles and says what he finally touched her, the girl with the title of Dragon Sword Flower. The technique comes at a cost. Heir faints from overload. Mo Byun doesn't catch him, and he falls to the ground. A cloud of dust rises around him as he sprawls on the ground. The teacher turns around, and what she sees just amazes her and scares her at the same time. She sees a huge hole in the fence of the practice yard. The only question in her mind is, what was that? The action moves forward some time. Heir is already an apprentice and shows the first fruits of his training. Warren shows unexpected talent, having mastered the techniques of Soaring Dragon and Azure Bamboo in a matter of days. The clan master is puzzled. The young man was previously thought to be devoid of combat potential due to illness. His progress shocks even experienced warriors. The heir attributes his success to hard training, but rumors of a hidden gift are already spreading throughout Hunan. Mo Byun watches him with close attention. She notices strange bursts of energy that are not typical of clan techniques, but she remains silent for now. His mentor praises Heir for his speed in mastering the swords, though the secrets of the styles remain a mystery to him. But she still says what he's doing now and how fast he's developing is just great. The young man modestly guffaws, but his eyes betray pride. He's one step closer to his goal. Mo Byong reminds her that he's been bedridden for a while now. The contrast makes her wonder what it was that made him so strong. The conversation is interrupted by a question about the red aura seen earlier. Heir evasively changes the subject, sensing the danger of revealing the secret of the regression. Mo Byong returns to the topic of abnormal energy, but the heir pretends to be oblivious. He cites fatigue and injuries from sparring, though he is actually afraid of the repercussions of the revelations. The teacher announces that she will be watching his every move. Heir laughs nervously, calling it intimidating, but inside he's glad. Her interest ensures that his training will continue. Using the techniques he just learned, Warren realizes the incompleteness of Tianzhong's legacy. It reveals a dark history. The clan's founder borrowed demonic arts and reworked them into sword styles. The young man learns that the true power of the clan has been sacrificed for the path of justice. This explains why their techniques are inferior to rival sects. Warren vows to restore the lost greatness. His eyes are fixed on the future, where Tianzhong will once again become a symbol of power. Warren pondered on the reasons for the decline of the Tianzhong clan. The incompatibility of the demonic arts with orthodox cultivation methods led to the incompleteness of their techniques. Even after reaching the peak of skill, the clan founder could not overcome the limitations of the hybrid styles. Hiding the true origins of the martial arts was a fatal mistake. Centuries later, the truth came out, exacerbating a crisis of trust within the clan and causing the clan's demise. The heir realizes that only he, who has knowledge of the future, can correct the mistakes of the past. His goal is to unite the lost fragments of the techniques, restoring their original power. His thoughts are interrupted by a vision of the clan dying in flames. Heir vows not to let the catastrophe happen again, even if it means breaking centuries-old taboos. The action moves to a garden, where the protagonist sits with the head of the clan and his companion and drinks tea. Warren announces to his father his intention to visit the Jeagle clan. A new plan has already matured in his mind. His father immediately asks, what business does he have with this clan? His companion is also surprised. The purpose of the visit was to formally welcome him as part of a pre-birth marriage contract. His father approves of the idea, recalling his friendship with the clan head, Jeagle Yugyal. He mentions the bride, Jeagle Chongyong, a famous beauty and talented heiress. The conversation is interrupted by a question about security. His father insists on an escort of experienced bodyguards, but Heir has already mapped out a route. The Council of Elders opposes the trip, citing the heir's poor health. Father parries, traveling is part of growing up, and Haverin's age coincides with when he himself made an alliance with Jeagle. Logistics are discussed. A month's journey, proven inns, secret trails. The main emphasis is on the choice of guards. Father introduces 2 warriors, the Rising Blades, masters of stealthy techniques, as well as a female master. Warren is studying their files. Chanwook and Namwook, despite their youth, have made a name for themselves in fighting bandits. Their style combines speed and illusions, perfect for ambush defense. The Heir approves of the choice, but imposes a condition: complete obedience to his instructions. The Blades swear loyalty, though there's a flicker of curiosity in their eyes. Rumors of change in Haverin have reached them as well. Jongwook and Namwook watch, impressed. They discuss his potential. If he keeps growing like this, he'll surpass the elders in a year. After introductions, Haverin instructs the bodyguards. The itinerary includes a stop at the ruins of an ancient temple, a place where the scrolls of the clan's founder are rumored to be kept. The Heir warns of dangers, traps, wild animals, possible agents of the Davy sect. They agree to his warning and all prepare to head forward. Before he goes far and long, the young man wants to say goodbye to his entire family, as he loves them and values their lives. A little girl cries as her brother leaves, but he apologizes and calms her down, promising that when he returns they will go to the festival. His father and his companion look upon their son and future heir to the clan with pride and love. Next, Guy turns to Kijung and talks about how he is now leaving the fate of his sister and the rest of the family to him. His brother wonders how much his older brother has grown. Now, to make eye contact with him, he has to put his head up. He salutes and talks about how his brother won't even have to think about it. He'll protect everyone in the family. At the end, he turns to Mom and Dad and Bose, saying that he is gone and promises to return as soon as possible with good news. They are already riding with bodyguards on horseback on a journey that is sure to be long and dangerous. But suddenly Varen hears a small, thin voice and turns to look at it. He sees a little girl calling him. This situation reminds him of a situation from the past, and he falls into a memory where he is riding a cart in a red world. A girl also ran towards him, shouting and calling him young master, slapping her feet on the ground. She, having finally reached, stops by the cart and prepares to say something very important. Yonghwa, the faithful maid, begs to be taken along. The girl's tears and screams disturb the protagonist's judgment. Now his mind is back to normal and he is back in the real world. He sees the same girl in front of him. One of the mercenaries says they don't have time for the girl, but the Lord tells him to wait and gets off his horse to the girl. He walks up to her and the girl squirms. She thinks she's done something wrong and is about to get hit. But what Guy does is shock the girl. He sits down and puts his arms around her, pressing his face against her shoulder. It's not just the girl who is in shock. Everyone around her doesn't understand what the hell is going on right now. The guy says he can't take her on such a long and dangerous journey with him. Doesn't even have the right to do it. The boy says he won't be able to act normally because he'll be protecting her all the way. He reminds her that her loyalty has already saved his life in the past. The tears in her eyes mingle with pride the first time the Heir calls her family. Before leaving, Warren asks her to wait for him along with her dad, mom, and sister and brother. The caravan sets off at dawn. Haverin looks around his homeland, knowing that the return journey could change everything. His father and Solon wave at him, hiding their anxiety. He promises to change everything upon his return, to protect his entire family and prevent the downfall and demise of the clan. He hits the horse with his spur, and the horse rises up and carries him away faster and faster. En route, Varen explains the true purpose of the trip: to find the tomb of the clan's founder in the Ulidan Mountains. There, according to legends, is where the secret to perfecting their clan's martial arts is kept. Young Guy happily declares that their road lies solely in the Ulidan Mountains. Hooray! Haverin is in an ancient place, deep in thought. The walls, covered with ancestral symbols, are a reminder of the clan's former glory. He gets up and searches across this vast universe in a vacuum for something to catch his eye. Finally, his gaze lingers on a crack in the stone. a metaphor for Tianzhong's current state. He picks up the sign, and it says Tianzhong. He looks through it and sees something terrible. The Tianzhong clan, once a proud martial arts stronghold, now exists in the flames of its former achievements. He looks at it and succumbs to the memory again. Though he doesn't want to see it, he doesn't want it to ever happen again. Heir, walking through the main courtyard, hears scraps of conversation. His presence silences them. The air has become both a symbol of hope and a source of anxiety. The flames gather into the silhouette of a demon, who snarls at the protagonist that he thinks he's a complete fool. Is he saying that after he understood and used their power, he dares to waste time on nonsense? The kid doesn't understand anything the grandfather says, but he definitely recognizes his face and energy. The demon screams that he can't change anything. Sooner or later the nightmare will happen, and he will lose everyone he loves again. The sparring with Mo Byun takes an unexpected turn. The mentor abruptly stops the fight when she notices the trembling in her student's hands. Her question about his thoughts during the fight takes Heir by surprise. The young man gives up and confesses that he wasn't focusing on technique, but on images from nightmares, flames consuming the clan, the screams of family. Warren retreats in sparring, his punches losing accuracy. Jongwook jokes about nightmares, but Namwook notices the pallor of the heir's face. The young man attributes his insomnia to anxiety about his upcoming journey. It all frightens him, but he is in no hurry to reveal himself to his companions. Bodyworkers suggest mastering reverse lifting flow, a technique that stabilizes chi through physical activity. The kid jokes that he'll try it all next time, but now he's got urgent business to attend to. He stops and talks about how he has something to tell his companions about their real purpose. They ride on horseback, and Heir announces his intention to visit the Mountain of the Seven Sages before their supposedly main objective. Chanwook and Namwook perk up at the mention of monkey wine, a legendary chi-enhancing drink. The heir reveals his second goal, to find a century-old ginseng for his weakened father. The bodyguards, upon learning this, swear to protect him even in the lands of the demonic sects. He talks about how he's heard all sorts of things about them, and one of all the information is that the two of them are big drinkers. The debate over the itinerary is escalating. Mo Byong insists that visiting the Seven Sages Mountain will cause conflict with demonic sects. Heir parries, sometimes masquerading as the enemy saves lives. They'll never know which clan they're from. The bodyguards support the heir, recalling an incident where disguised merchants escaped a massacre. Mentor rejects the idea, but Guy says it's okay. He can put away his pride and say he's from the demon clan too. The bodyguards agree with the guy, but the girl is sure they just want to get drunk out of their minds. The guy covers himself with his hand and says he urgently needs ginseng for his parents. Everyone agrees with him, and he smiles as his plan finally succeeds and goes into effect from that very second. He admits that there's nothing on the mountain that he promised those two dumb jocks or whatever. But there's something else. He's talking about the demonic poison stoneflower, a beautiful plant with a very strong aura. Tvi comes a vision, a mountain shrouded in black mist, and an altar with a cracked crystal. Out of all this forms the very flower that so beckons him in this mountainous place. Rumors of the flower stone are confirmed. The locals whisper about demonic masters gathering at the foot of the mountain. Heir realizes the artifact is bait to provoke a sect war, and many people have already found out about it. Mo Byong suggests bypassing the danger zone, but the heir is determined to use the plan. His plan is to sneak into the founder's tomb while the sects fight over an illusory artifact. At the Seven Sages Mountain, the group may encounter a patrol of the Seven Dragons sect. Yes, Master's probably right. Wherein, pretending to be a merchant, learns of Gochiok, the sect's heir, seeking the flower stone for a breakthrough in skill. He recalls hearing a guy using a flower he had reached the first peak level in just half a year. He realizes that this flower will help him recover the full power of the energy of his native clan's techniques, since they are also demonic. He sets the cup down and says that despite everything, They need to go exactly where he wants them to go, to the mountain. Master Woman resents his thoughts, but he explains that this is one important path in order to get to the Jagal clan. Heir discusses with her the risk of a clash with the Jegal clan. Despite his misgivings, he insists on the meeting, seeing it as a chance to strengthen the alliance. The girl reminds you to avoid direct conflict with strong fighters. The heir develops a strategy, use hidden trails, and disguise himself as a traitor. Mo Byong approves of the plan, but demands to stay away from the demonic sects patrol areas. The bodyguards are already drunk to pieces. They didn't wait for their monkey tincture and drank all they had in the tavern. He shrugs and turns to the girl, assuring her that he will not move close to or avoid demonic sects. They arrive, and the head of the squad confirms that the mountain surroundings look very much like some kind of gallery. He thinks he's weak for now, but the next second he changes his mind, and his face expresses a sinister smile. The guy orders his men to go through the entire neighborhood and enter every building and establishment to look for any interesting places where someone might be hiding. Once they all set off on a mission, he ponders what Gochiok will do now and how to move forward. He looks around the stables because his enemy will need a lot of horses. The man does a lot of analyzing of what his enemy's actions might be and eventually comes to the conclusion that he is most likely in this tavern. He stays at this inn and waits for Gochiok to come himself into their hands. The group encounters a squad of the Snake Dragon sect. Jongwoo points out Gochiok, a young leader whose fame has spread throughout Hunan. Heir watches his opponent, analyzing his style. Gochiok's movements are sharp and unpredictable, like a snake preparing to strike. The guy doesn't understand why he's here. Why isn't he fighting on top of a mountain? Gochiok gives the order to gather the sect's elite fighters. Heir overhears the conversation and realizes that the demonic sects are after the Flower Stone. The heir decides to take advantage of the chaos. While the sects fight amongst themselves, his group sneaks into the founder's tomb. Jongwook and Namwook disguise themselves as mercenaries in preparation for the sabotage. The bodyguards are protesting the new plan. "It's suicide," says Mo, overhearing their conversation. Mo Byong recalls the peaceful period in Jianghu's history, but the heir parries. Calmness is an illusion. He who does not grow perishes. The girl talks about how they are not weak enough to rely on some herb and risk their lives for it. But a shadow falls over Heir's face, and he begins to explain to the girl that she's wrong. They really are weak. Heirina openly questions Mo's motivation. Isn't a martial artist interested in strength? The heir admits that strength is necessary to protect those he cares about. He says he has a dream to become stronger with the help of this flower, and nothing will stop him. The guy's urging her to trust him, like the heir to the clan. He wants her to follow him. Mo Byun sees the change in his disciple. His aura, previously chaotic, now pulses with controlled fury. She realizes he is solid and has grown into a leader. The bodyguards laugh at how well the kid slides the speech in, but they also respect his position. Chanwook and Namwook vow to follow wherein no matter the risks. They bow with their hands together in respect. Even Mo Byong joins them in their vow. But remember, she says, Jianghu doesn't forgive mistakes. The group sets off onward further towards the mountain, and everyone is confident that their new leader knows what he is doing. Guy himself reflects on the fact that Jianghu doesn't scare him. He's already encountered them in his past life. Averin and the group observe members of the Serpent Dragon sect deploying the elusive net. Surrounding tactics known for their ruthless effectiveness. Their numbers exceed expectations, causing the bodyguards to tense up. The heir analyzes the arrangement of enemies, noting the discipline and coherence of movements. The formation resembles a spider's web, where every thread is a death trap. Mo Byun whispers a warning. It would be suicide to attack now. Chanwook offers to retreat, but Warren remains adamant. He knows that the main group of the sect has not yet entered the battle, waiting for the moment to strike. The miracle cure is their target, and that's what they need to watch out for. The bodyguards camouflage themselves in the shadows of the cliffs, blending in with the terrain. Warren notices the trembling in Namwook's hands. Even experienced warriors feel the pressure of the approaching battle. Minutes pass in tense silence. Suddenly, there's a cry in the distance, a signal for action. The sectarians begin to squeeze the ring, but the heir commands them to wait. The group decides to wait for the bearer of the miracle cure to give himself away. Heir assumes that the fugitive will head towards the river, where it is easier to hide his tracks. They move slowly along the bank, avoiding open spaces. Mo Byun points to the sudden silence of shouting, a sign that the chase has died down. This could mean that the target has escaped or has been caught. The bodyguards slow their steps, listening to every rustle. Heir notices footprints on the water. Someone is walking here. They see a man walking and asking for help. The heir signaled for him to stop. His chi detects a faint ripple ahead, perhaps an artifact, aura, or a trap. The group freezes, blending into the night's darkness. A moment later, a shadow flickers in the bushes. Heir clutches his sword, but the target turns out to be a huge magical hand. The air suddenly thickens, filling with a metallic odor of blood. A figure emerges from the mist, killing the man in front. This flying demonic blood lion is a legendary assassin whose name brings terror. Mo Byung instantly recognizes his aura, warning the group with a gesture. His presence explains the sect's activity. Such an adversary is a magnet for conflict. Warren assessed the situation. Even the combined forces of the Serpent Dragon sect are unlikely to deal with him. This is a chance to take advantage of the chaos, but the risk is huge. Mo Byun explains, Flying Lion is one of the 100 strongest demonic masters. His appearance here is no coincidence. He is also hunting for the demonic poison flower stone, and he's already found it. Suddenly, the ground beneath our feet trembles. Soldiers crawl out from everywhere and surround the lion on all sides. One of the principals accuses this assassin of causing the deaths of multiple elite fighters from his squad. The flying lion, surrounded by the serpent dragon sect fighters, laughs as it breaks their ranks. Its movements resemble a dance of death. Each swing of its claws leaves bloody scars. But the man pulls out a hidden weapon, a shower of 1,000 needles, one of the few weapons that stops everyone, even a lion. All men are armed with this weapon, even though it costs a fortune, all for the sake of eliminating the lion and getting the flower. The lion, noticing the group, rushes towards them. His claws are centimeters away from them. It is a miracle that the bullets from the gun do not hit him. An explosion goes off above the assassin's head, but he doesn't show even a shadow of fear on his face. He rushes forward, causing blasts of energy in the middle of the battlefield. The people around, including the protagonist, are shocked. He doesn't understand where he gets so much chi from and how he uses it so much to tear apart ranks of enemies in seconds. A bunch of ninjas rush after the lion, preparing to shoot at it to kill it at once quickly and efficiently. The flying demonic blood lion has been defeated. At least that's what the bandits and sectarians think. The members of the Serpent Dragon sect cheer as they declare their victory. Their shouts echoed through the forest. The chapter cries out that they should go over and finish off the common enemy to make sure he's dead. A bunch of men from above aimed their swords at the neck of a lion lying in the river, spitting blood down. The assassin maintains an icy calm, his gaze fixed on the river. He whispers that his enemies will never find the cure. It rises up and hits him with a wave upwards, breaking the bones in the air of all those people who want to kill him. He tears and swords in his path, tearing and chopping the bodies of the sectarians with his claws. The entire group is in shock. Never before have any of them seen such a brutal bloodbath consisting of nothing but severed limbs and heads. Mo marvels at the young lord's resilience. He's acting brave, even though this is the first time he's seen such a thing. They finally finish off the lion and it falls into the river, its body now not quite resembling human body, but just a piece of meat. The Serpent Dragon sect continues their unsuccessful search. Their leader, the Eighth Sword, is furious and orders every crevice to be searched. The noise of the search masks the actions of Heir's group. They are about to leave, for the cure turns out not to be in the dead lion's possession. The guy thinks he knows where the cure is. Maybe that killer sent him downstream. The heir recalls how the lion created a water barrier before the fight. It might not have been a defense, but a way to hide the artifact. He heads to the place where the stream splits into two arms. The water barrier created by the lion begins to dissipate. Heir realizes the artifact was dropped downstream to cover their tracks. The group makes their way down to the mouth of the river, avoiding patrols. Suddenly there's gunfire close behind them, but not at them. It just indicates that those assholes are close by. The guy orders everyone to move faster before they realize exactly what the lion did with the cure. Downstream, they see a purple glow coming closer. They see it, the very same flower. Quickly, and from all sides, they leaped toward him to seize him for themselves more quickly. Heir takes this flower in his hand, and with the other, he feels its aura. He has finally found it by applying his mind. To distract his pursuers, Heir offers to plant a fake artifact. He hands the real one to the bodyguard and takes the other. He impregnates an ordinary crystal with poison to mimic the aura of the demon stone. Mo says that it's not right for such a leader to carry poison with him. The group leaves a false trail leading to the target. The sectarians, having discovered it, rush in pursuit, ignoring them and giving them time to escape. The heir watches their faces, assessing the effectiveness of the plan. The bodyguards are surprised at the simplicity of the ruse, but recognize its effectiveness. Heir reminds us, the deception will be revealed in a few hours. They have a little time to get away. But suddenly the medicine box disappears from his hand. What happened? He didn't even get a chance to speak. Grandfather is back, and he was the one who snatched the flower right out of the protagonist's hands. It was easy. No one was even expecting him. So unexpected that the entire group and their faces are framed in fear. Even the bodyguards turn into scared little boys. The old man clutches the flower in his hands, saying with anger through his teeth that the demonic poison stone flower is now forever his. The people around are shouting at the young clan heir, and yet he is standing next to a very strong opponent. The flying demonic blood lion, surrounded by members of the serpent dragon sect, displays a frightening power. Its aura saturated with demonic energy suppresses even experienced fighters. With a very large swing, the lion hits him in the very middle of his chest, leaving a purple-colored aura behind his hand and surely breaking our boy's ribs. From this blow, Heir flies off a couple dozen meters into the dirt, leaving a trail of blood behind him. The rest of the people who were kind of supposed to be guarding him are standing around watching the whole beating. The demonic lion screams in rage at the pathetic rats who dare to defy him. His anger fuels his strength and makes his movements predictable. He talks about how he now has enough energy to absorb the full power of this flower. His chi pulses in time with the crystal, as if they were connected by an invisible thread. He is ready to tear apart everyone around him. He prepares to replenish his chi with the blood of all these people. It won't take much effort for him to do so. This is the first time Mo Bayan faces an opponent superior in strength. Each blow from the lion leaves deep wounds, but the young man continues to fight, relying on his speed. Her sword flashes with blue flames. She tries to force the lion to retreat with her attack, but all attempts are futile. She feels the killer's demonic energy surging through his body. Visions of past and future mingle, threatening to consume consciousness. She realizes that right now, in this moment, she has a real possibility of dying, something she hasn't experienced before. She reflects on the history of obtaining her title and the fact that she has always lived this life or wanted to live it. Chanwook and Namwook, known as the Rising Ghost Blades, are to enter the battle along with Mo. Together with these two Mo bodyguards, Bayan must protect the young clan leader at all costs, as well as stop the demon. She tries to stop the two young men from a senseless head-on attack, but the two say that they will protect her as well. The dragon sword flower is their duty. And also one of them is smiling. Lion has already been poisoned by the flower, and he's not going to be doing well anytime soon. Mo Byun thinks of Lion being poisoned and uses his life energy as fuel. His powers will run out within an hour, but before that, he is extremely dangerous. The jock says they have a good chance of a confrontation even now. Killing this demon is the main objective. The boys decide to go on the attack, but avoiding direct confrontations. Jongwook and Namwook spread out, flanking each other forward. And now that they are in position, they allow themselves to raise their blades and go for a quick attack from different sides at the same time. The lion stretches out his arms and talks about how since they didn't escape, he respects them, but will still kill them as fast as he can. Everyone notices that the poison is slowing the lion's reactions. Each of his strikes is now predictable, allowing the group to dodge and counterattack. Mo Byun activates a technique that creates a punch out of light. The lion, blinded, receives a strong blow from our girl master. Suddenly something confuses the demon, and he has to step back to catch his breath and prepare for another attack. The flying demonic blood lion shuddered in pain, its body engulfed in a poisonous aura. The man tries to suppress the effects of the toxin, but the demonic energy is out of control. He recalls the words of an old woman from the Tang clan. Her poisons leave no chance of survival, but his organs are still intact, raising doubts about the nature of the poisoning. Mo Byong watches him from the shadows, analyzing the symptoms. Her experience tells her it's a common poison, but a mixture of non-demonic essences that corrodes the soul. The group approaches the lion, preparing for the final battle. Their blades shake in their hands, but determination never leaves the men. These suckers supposedly mock the defeated lion. Their poisons are known for their ability to dissolve flesh in minutes, but the enemy's body remains intact. He threatens to break the bones of all his abusers for their meanness and disrespect for his person. Mo realizes that the bodyguards were right. The lion's strength is really running out after the poison. They just have to wait a little longer. They look at him and see the demonic lion grabbing his head and laughing as hard as he can. Crazy old man. He asks himself, will this place really be his grave? Will death catch up with him here? The lion, bleeding, realizes the nearness of the end. His gaze is mad and fixed on the sky, as if he is seeking answers from the spirits of his ancestors. He doesn't understand how he didn't die at the hands of the Tang clan, the dragon sect, why he will die at the hands of these gnats and bugs who are nothing. The thought occurs to him that if that brat poisoned him, he must have the elixir, and he'll go and get it from the kid's body now. The lion, being the leader and not tolerating such treatment of himself, vows to snatch the flower stone even from the lion's stomach. He sprints to attack and hits the guy who is covering the young girl Mo with his body. She then delivers a lightning strike at him, but even dodging it was no problem for the demon. And this time, she's helped by another of the keepers. The brave lads have their battle buddies back throughout the battle. He pays for it with the integrity of his face and the number of teeth. The demon takes that away from him. Only an instant left, and the demon's hands would converge on Mo's neck, killing her in seconds. Mo realizes that this is the end. Dodging is clearly not something she can do in this situation. Suddenly, after a single spark, half of the demon's body is pierced by a blade, tearing it in two. It was Heir activating his demon power for the second time. The young lord's face is glowing, and his pupils are invisible. The entire whites of his eyes have been consumed by demonic energy, turning his eyes into red lanterns. The next scene takes place before the battle. Warren feels the life energy, chi pulsing through his veins, guiding his every movement. He coughs up blood. How clever of the demon to send him into the bushes, while he himself is left to fight his friends. Heir realizes it's time for him to get up to protect his friends who are now venting for him. But looking at his fractures, it's hard to believe he can stand up. His legs and arms are broken or missing. He recalls what he said earlier about knowing everything, and now ironizes his position, who he seemed to be and where he ended up. The drops of blood on his face indicate something strange. Heir analyzes the traces, not understanding. How is this possible? The guy notices the deep scratches on his forehead, the result of demonic technique. He hears the demon's words about asking him to surrender and give him this body under his control. Now he finally realized what was happening to him. He could feel what was inside him, something demonic. Heir feels his grandfather's demonic energy reacting to what is happening. The aura heats up, threatening to spiral out of control. He remembers borrowing this energy for himself when fighting Master Mo, how he used it to defeat her. And he can defeat the demonic lion. The demonic force within him tries to subdue Heir's will. His mind is filled with images of destruction, burning villages, falling clan banners. The Heir closes his eyes, concentrating on breathing. He tries not to, for then the demon will consume him. His hand involuntarily reaches for his blade. Heir can hardly stop it, realizing that using the demon's energy now would be fatal. He tells his inner voice to shut up, which only wants to take over his body, subjugate his will. A battle for control of his body is brewing inside Heir. He stands up, and his face reflects a grimace of pain and labor. The shadow of the past, embodied in demonic energy, taunts his attempts at resistance. The Heir says he will protect his loved ones properly this time. The veins in his head have swollen due to inhuman effort. He runs and rushes forward in order to help his friends in the fight against the lion. And there he was again in that pose, ripping the demon apart right before striking towards Mo. With one blow, he chops off his arm. This he did despite multiple fractures after being thrown with all his might into a tree. The lion retreats in rage, grabbing a limb without its half. He is insulting our protagonist. The demonic master appears suddenly, his aura mixed with a poisonous mist. Lion instantly assesses the threat. The opponent uses the same techniques as him, but with more skill. The Heir activates a barrier, protecting the group from the first strike. The crystal in his hand flashes, deflecting the attack back. The bodyguards thank the head of the clan for showing up on time. Without him, everyone would be dead by now. They all reason that his opponent has been poisoned, and now his life is on the line. Soon the demonic lion will die. The lion, bleeding, joins the fray. His fury rains down on both sides, turning the battlefield into chaos. And now Heir gives his first order as leader, survive at all costs. This motivates all his friends. Leo ponders the many mysteries he has encountered during his journey. But this situation defies any explanation, no matter how you look at it. Now, the lion has a personal interest. He will put aside all his thoughts of preserving life. He will fight to the end. The demonic master, tauntingly, attacks Heir. His movements are reminiscent of technique, but with a tinge of subtle brutality. He talks about how he'll only be interested in fighting him if he puts his best foot forward. They fly at each other, the demonic lion and Guy and his team of bodyguards. Suddenly we see the head of the sect yelling throughout the forest. The Geo-Cheek has returned, and he needs a flower too. The old man from the clan who once handed over his life in exchange for chi becomes a key figure in Getchiok's speeches. The Serpent Dragon sect finds the group's hideout. Their leader demands the stone, threatening to destroy everyone. They come and see the traces of the lion's supposed art, a scorched blank spot on the ground. The servants say they have found him, and indeed, the mutilated body of a lion lies in this very empty space. He is dead. The search for the missing flower stone escalates the conflict. Where is it if not in the lion's possession? The cult leader asks not to speak of his disappearance. Otherwise, it will upset him, and he will want to cut off his servant's head. The servant hesitates, and the sect leader does draw his sword to bring down the kid's head. He squints, expecting the worst, a cut to the head or arm in extreme case, but for some reason, nothing happens. The kid opens his eyes and looks at the man with the saber. His eyes are pointed in a completely different direction. He asks who's out there, who is hiding over there away from him and his men. Accusations of stealing the flower stone reach a peak. The sect leader vows to destroy anyone if the artifact is not returned. His face turned red with rage, and his teeth rubbed against each other, setting the story with a merry jingle of gnashing teeth. The victory over the flying demonic blood lion left the group in a state of mixed euphoria and anxiety. The bodyguards bandaged their wounds, and Mo Byun scanned the horizon, wary of new threats. Chanwook tried to lighten the mood with a joke about luck, but his voice betrayed his fear. The bodyguard nodded silently, realizing how close they were to death. It was very close to death, but they say that the strongest survive for a reason. Demon wasn't one of them. Mo Byun approved of the thought. Her gaze often stopped on Warren, whose pallor and shadows under his eyes betrayed exhaustion. He coughed up blood. She asked if he was okay, because they didn't have time for a full medical exam. The heir pretended to be in control, hiding the pain. However, the tension in his shoulders and slow movements said otherwise. Heir gathered the group together, confessing to the influence of demonic energy on his mind. He vowed to keep it under control, but avoided details of the power's origin. He says that this is just the beginning and not empty words he spoke before. He also addresses the keepers, talking about how they will have to get stronger. The bodyguards exchanged anxious glances. Jong-wook was the first to express his support, reminding them of their duty to the clan. Mo Byun demanded an explanation about the nature of her leader's aura, but received an evasive answer. Tension was in the air. All the other members of the squad were discussing Heir's aura and were confused by its power and nature. Mo Byung insisted on the truth about the nature of Warren's energy. Her suspicions were growing. The heir's techniques didn't match Tianzhong's style. The cornered heir almost revealed the secret of the regression, but stopped himself. Disclosure could have left the clan vulnerable, changing the course of events. The woman started yelling at the fact that the leader didn't want to reveal his power. But suddenly she felt blood on her shoulder and realized that the heir was getting worse and worse. He says everyone is risking their lives. Once he decides to tell, they'll be the first to know. They stop for Guy to finally cough up blood. The lady suggests he go to the nearest clan for help. But there were still risks. The Serpent Dragon sect patrolled the area, and the ancient traps on the trails could be deadly. On the way to Mount Yuden, Warren explained the choice of target. He was a healer. He was famous for his ability to neutralize demonic poisons. At the foot of Mt. Yuden, the group encountered a guy chasing a kitty cat. The cat's name is Backsoul, and he throws a side eye at his master, then runs away. He walks up to the bushes, and he's shaken up, as if he's really scared of something. The kid finally walks over and picks up his cat, talking to him about how he's catching it handily. Freezing with the cat in his hands, he looks at the bush that had earlier frightened the cat. The bush was still shaking. He looks ahead and can't believe his eyes. He sees 4 warriors who managed to get stuck in that bush. Heir rejoices at the first living human he has met in this forest in a long time. And the cat and the boy just peed their pants in fear. Their screams echoed throughout the forest. In the next shot, we see a small hut obscurely in the mountains of Japan. He wakes up again in the middle of nowhere with his head bandaged. The first thing he remembers is a flying demonic lion. His wounds have healed, and he now understands what this place can be. Suddenly, the door to the house opens in front of him, and in the passage stands the same boy with a white kitty from the forest. The group reaches the clinic, where they are greeted by Heir Yong, the grandson of Heir, the healer. The young man is surprised that Warren knows his name, unaware of his role in the clan's fate. The healer prepares a cure, but the heir reveals the true purpose of the visit. Heir Yong is the key to restoring Tianzhong's lost techniques. Mo Byun studies the child, noting his unusual aura. Her eyes flashed with understanding. This boy could really be the strongest under the sky. Warren recalls the ancient Yong manuscript of the depths of heaven, which caused wars between clans. Its essence is the unification of good and evil within man for transcendent power. He confirms that the manuscript is real. The founder of the Wudong sect, Zhang Sanfeng, left it as a legacy, but the text has been lost for centuries. The heir explains that in his past life, Heir Yong accidentally found the scroll. Now he intends to do it again to complete the clan's dream of rebirth. The manuscript describes the balance of light and demonic energy. Warren believes that studying it will overcome the limitations of Tianzhong hybrid techniques. The healer warns, the merging of opposites is dangerous. Even a founder of Wudong barely controlled this power, leading to his disappearance. Yong unwittingly becomes the center of the plans. His innocence contrasts with the burden of expectations placed on him by the heir. He marvels at the difference between Chul the adult and Chul the petite. How one book can turn a boy into a powerful man. The boy is surprised at the claims of the boy's future greatness. His experience tells him that power without wisdom leads to disaster. Warren insists he saw how Yong changed the balance of power in his past life. Even a child can become a weapon in the fight for the clan's survival. In the moment, a fly lands on the child. Just a fly, but he noticed it. With one deft movement of his hand, he took and killed this fly with ease like a seasoned warrior. Watching this, our protagonist is very surprised. He asks if the boy has studied martial arts. Yong demonstrated the basic martial art movements learned under his grandfather's guidance. His actions were precise despite his young age, which aroused the interest of the watching heir. Heir wondered, was it a coincidence that the child possessed such skills? Perhaps it is part of the destiny connected with the manuscript. Physician, he interrupted the heir's musings by suggesting an examination. His voice sounded calm, but his eyes revealed an underlying worry. The heir introduced himself, expressing his gratitude for the treatment. The boy was embarrassed, explaining that he was only following his grandfather's instructions. The question of why he had come to the Yuden Mountains hung in the air. Heir remained silent, hesitant to reveal the true purpose. Warren explained that he was looking for ginseng to save his seriously ill mother. His voice trembled when he mentioned the years he had spent under his parents' care. He frowned, warning that wild ginseng was rare and dangerous to obtain. However, his tone was sympathetic to the young man. The heir insisted on repeating the request, willing to pay any price. Chanwook and Namwook looked at each other, realizing that this was only part of a more complicated plan. Mo Byun interrupted the conversation by reminding them of the approaching sectarians. The time for persuasion had expired. The healer did not doubt the truth of Kvaren's story. His eyes became more tearful. He began to sympathize with the boy. The healer said he was touched by the boy's story and his special care for his parents. He stood up abruptly, suggesting that they start searching immediately. His harsh tone made everyone back down, agreeing to help. The group left the clinic, leaving the old man's heavy gaze behind them. Heir was satisfied with his lie. Heir observed the tense atmosphere in the camp. Instructor Mo had received orders to begin the search, but his movements betrayed doubts about the success of the enterprise. The young heir clutched the map of the area, mentally repeating the target, Inyang Ginseng. Every minute of delay threatened to aggravate his mother's condition. The man turned sharply toward the group, demanding immediate action. His voice sounded hard as steel, overriding the whispers of the doubters. All peed themselves and are now ready to search for ginseng with the same force, but already with wet pants from fear. The group decided to descend the mountain before sunset. The whole group was not particularly thrilled with the lack of results. The boy sighed, realizing, even knowing the future didn't guarantee easy victories. The healer promised to send a route to Hunan as soon as he found it. The unwavering determination in his words made the others nod in response. The guy from the Tianzhong clan froze, pondering the offer to hand over the ginseng. He immediately stood up and bowed, saying thank you. Heir apologized for the delay, asking permission to stay for a week. His gaze wandered over his grandfather's face, noting his emotions. Mo Bayan hummed approvingly, suggesting that they check the places where Duck frequented. Her strategic approach won the leader's approval. The young man abstractedly clutched the manuscript, realizing, without a key clue, the search would drag on for years. Kvaren's morning greeting went unanswered. Grandfather refused to go together, preferring to act alone. They talk about guy going on a search today, without his grandfather, but alone. The guy asked sharply about Cheol Ryung's whereabouts. His tone betrayed impatience, as if every moment of delay was worth a life. Now, they see him. He's driving with a cat in his hand somewhere, and for something. Why does he need a cat? The encounter with the tiger left the young man shaken. His account of the martial attack made the group wary. Mo Bayan grinned, noting the boy's speed of escape. However, there was a flicker of alarm in her eyes, as mystical animals always attracted danger. Heir stood up abruptly upon hearing of the attempted kidnapping of Beaksole. His voice sounded icy. He is not a commodity to be traded. In front of them, an army of people, led by a girl with a large fan, appears in the gate. They ask, "Who is the owner of the cat?" The young man yells that he's his owner. But the very next second, he starts yelling that this kitty is not for sale. The stranger offered a generous fee for the cat, but was refused. Her smile didn't hide the threat in the air. Now, it won't be a child talking about the cat. It will be adults fighting back against these assholes. The girl from the Zagel clan raised her hands in a show of superiority. Her posture resembled that of a predator ready to attack. Grandfather stepped forward, blocking Beaksole's path. His movements were ready for a fight, despite his physical weakness. In this girl's methods, he sees a past self, a fat merchant who decides everything only with money. The man with the armband interrupted the conflict by condemning the Zagel clan's methods. His authoritative tone caused the attackers to retreat a step. Heir assessed the situation. A confrontation with a powerful clan threatened to ruin all plans. His thoughts were racing, looking for a way out of the trap. The boy recognized the girl as his fiancée's younger sister. His face turned white, but his principles were harder than steel. The young man stepped forward sharply, blocking the path of the group from the Zagel clan. His eyes narrowed as he assessed the numerical superiority of his opponents. The girl in the embroidered dress grinned contemptuously. Her status as the younger sister of the clan had entitled her to such impertinence. Chan Wook involuntarily swallowed as he recognized her as Yahello. The thought of a possible conflict with a powerful clan made his hand tremble. One of her bodyguards came out and became confrontational, asking about where the man would be from. Now the main character's own bodyguard has gotten involved, and the two guards are fighting like dogs. The bodyguard of the Tianzhong clan, Heir, briefly introduced himself, hiding his true origin. His companions froze, waiting for the arrogant guest's reaction. Heir, the heir to the clan, decided to take over the conversation. Yahello crossed her arms and covered her face with the fan, refusing to negotiate with anyone. Her fingers tapped on the hilt of the fan, as if counting down the time to attack. Abruptly, she walks up to the little guy and tells him he has two options. Either make some money and give the cat away, or she'll just take it away. But suddenly the leader abruptly began winking and gesturing to the kid when to let go. The boy finally stepped forward sharply, offering a third option. There was steel in his voice that made everyone turn their heads. The little girl is clearly not happy with this arrangement. "What is the third position?" she asks. The heir nodded imperceptibly to the kid, approving of his initiative. His gaze slid to the exit, hoping for a quick escape if necessary. The boy suddenly tossed the cat, trying to save Beaksole. His movements resembled the claws of a predator tearing at its prey. The cat had already realized how he would escape from here, and how fast. The fire of defiance flared in his eyes, despite his young age. Kotick threw himself between them, taking the blow in his stride. His weak muscles trembled, but he steadied himself, protecting the child. "Now," he says, "the first one to find the cat will have it without objection." The young girl immediately sends a group of her soldiers far away to find him. Some time passed, and the girl from the Zagel clan snorted disdainfully upon hearing of the failed chase. Her voice rang out as she turned sharply to her subordinates. Mo Bayan coldly explained the nature of Beaksole. The word mystical made even the most daring attackers freeze in place. Yahello ordered the storming of the Yuden sect. Her voice sounded like the winter wind, leaving no room for objections. Also, Mo talks about how this little girl was already a genius in her years and was in charge of intelligence. The group disappeared into the forest thicket, masking their tracks. Heir was breathing heavily, but kept a firm grip on the plan. The guy suggested a temporary identity change. His plan included returning to his roots, training in the mountains. The kid confidently assured the little boy of the cat's speed. His smile said that no one would catch up with the cat. He strokes his head and talks about how everything is going to be okay. Mo looks at it from the sidelines and cringes. She feels like this kid has really changed and is now a better version of himself. The healer handed over the healing liquor, expressing his gratitude for his help. His gesture concealed a calculation to build trust for future negotiations. The old man nodded in embarrassment, accepting the vessel. The smell of herbs mingled with the tension in the air. The bodyguards wasted no time, and taking a large mug each began to drink the liquid, savoring every sip. Mo Byun watched from afar, analyzing every gesture. Her shadow blended into the semi-darkness of the room, as if part of strategy. Now that they had finished their drinks and asked Grandpa to go and fetch more, she was free and could go about her business. Walking down the street, she notices something that interested her in the morning, but revealed itself even better in the evening. She saw the young clan Heir practicing with that little boy, the grandson of the healer. The boy suddenly adopted a fighting stance. His movements gave off the appearance of being trained by a master, even though he was barely over 10 years old. The Heir held his breath as he recognized the elements of the Tianzhong clan's technique. His heart raced. This could be a clue. The boy was abruptly distracted when he heard a noise outside. His hand automatically reached for the hidden blade. But that didn't stop him from fending off the blow quickly and efficiently, putting the smaller warrior in an inferior position. The young man parried the blow with his bamboo sword, shocking the observers. Even the experienced Wudong sect fighters could not hide their surprise. Mo Byun bit her lip as she assessed the leader's potential. Her thoughts wavered between admiration and suspicion of his origins. The master muttered something about the unfathomable speed of growth. Her words hung in the air like an omen. Yahello announced her plans to get Bixel. Her voice sounded like an order that brooked no objection. Heir gritted his teeth, hiding a smile. Thoughts of the mystical cat intertwined with memories of this maiden's nature. The boy offered to retreat temporarily, but his gaze betrayed an unwillingness to give up. A plan was brewing in the back of his mind. He bids her an easy farewell, clearly trying to hurt her feelings, and he succeeds. The hysterical damsel leaves in a flustered mood. The Heir lied about the origins of the sect, avoiding a direct look. His companions froze, waiting for the revelation. Yahello snorted, but curiosity flashed in her eyes. The chi energy emanating from the group contradicted the humble statements. The girl touched her sword imperceptibly, preparing for the worst. The silence was as thick as a thunderstorm. She can't believe he's a member of a simple and obscure clan with such skills. Nor do his companions have mediocre abilities. Something's not right. The stranger demanded to know all the secrets of the clan. Her voice rattled the walls of the hut courtyard. She wished to know all and more about him, and immediately her servant dogs appeared beside her and speak of their readiness to follow him. Heir looked around the area for clues. His gaze slid over the rocks, but no detail betrayed the presence of the mystical cat. He waded into the water, watching his futile attempts. His fingers nervously thumbed over the map with the markings of the Yuden sect. Heir stopped abruptly when he heard a rustle in the bushes. His heart beat faster, but it was only the rabbit and its mate. He shook his head, whispering about the futility of the search. His words hung in the air, heightening the tension. The kid looked around, but never found a single implication or clue to look for. The sun was slipping towards sunset, coloring the sky scarlet. Heir sighed, realizing the need to leave the mountain. He gathered his gear, his movements sharp. Thoughts of his pursuers kept him from relaxing for a moment. He came and checked the supply bags, nodding to the group. His voice sounded firm. "We leave at dawn." The bodyguards warmed up and said they were ready to go out right away. They were well rested. The constant drinking parties had done them good. Mo agrees too, and says what seems like it's time for her to start packing her stuff to be ready to move out. Warren looks at his friends walking away from him, and from behind him we see a small silhouette running towards him with all its legs. It was a little boy running, clearly worried about something. He's talking about how he needs help right away. The boy looked around the bushes, and noticing a scrap of white fur, brought it to the leader for him to help him rescue the kitty. The Heir points out that those people tried too hard to catch the cat, so much so that they seriously injured him. The boy keeps talking and worrying about the fact that the cat should have come back to them a long time ago. All this makes the protagonist very upset, and he begins to think hard about what he should do now. He asks the boy about the fact that in order to help the cat, we need to find out where he can find. The boy pointed to a spot in the forest. That's where we first met him, he explained, turning to the leader, his face full of reliability, and turned to Heir to begin acting as quickly as possible to save the cat. Heir says he will help the boy as soon as possible, saying he understands the importance of the cat's role in the young boy's family. They run onward through the forest with great speed, examining the bushes around them and the tree crowns above them. Warren carried Chul on his back, not slowing down for a second on his way. He decided to take him because he knew the cat's behavior better. The boy started yelling about how he realized where they were, and now he was pointing the way for the heir to the clan. That's where we need to go. The cliff grew in front of the group, going into the high ground. Heir froze, assessing the height of the terrain. He asks the boy, "Is there a high stone fence all around the edges of this forest?" Chul answers that yes. In the next shot, they're standing and yelling in different directions the cat's name, or just calling the white kitty over to them. Suddenly, the boy beckoned the leader over to him. Wisps of white wool hung from the thorns. Chul picked one up, clutching in his fist. The kid found a blood trail leading to the creek. Her face turned pale. He's losing his strength and will die soon. Heir pushed the thicket apart, revealing the bloody ground. He's close, he warned. The healer's grandson runs after the leader in tears and calls his white kitten to him in desperation. He tells the boy not to worry. Bexall is around, judging by the tracks in the neighborhood. Suddenly, his gaze latched onto something that could be a clue to the kitty's disappearance. Heir studied intently the massive boulder blocking the path. His eyes slid over the mossy surface, and he saw blood beside it. The kid takes a step closer, settling his gaze and drawing Chul's attention to this boulder. It clearly means something. Warren leaned against the rock, listening to the wind behind it. What it means is that there's a large empty space behind that stone, a cave or something. He grasped the cobblestone with one hand, preparing to move it somewhere out of the way. Dust kicked up into the air, revealing a dark passageway. The guy takes it and strains to lift the stone. His face is red, and even snot has come out of his nose from such an effort. He looks at the results of his efforts and realizes they are zero. The boulder cannot be moved. The leader decided to tackle again with the same old effort and try to throw this block of stone off the place, but all in vain. He says that with the level of chi that only he has, he won't be able to throw the boulder off the road. He's thinking of calling Mo or someone else for help. Watching all this, the kid talks about how the effort was futile. There's a hole leading inside the cave as it is. Heir says it was formed for sure due to his efforts, but the boy puts it down. It was here from the beginning. The stone rumbled back into place, nearly crushing his hand. The man cursed, shaking his numb fingers as he struggled to move the block of chi. The thought of Bexal trapped inside made his heart race. He's probably inside that crevice. Heir says it's dangerous in there, and he should go alone and wake up inside the crevice. At first, only the hero's head enters. Then the shoulders and arms already appear. It's quite difficult to get in there because of the size of the slot. The grotto was huge, like the belly of a mythical beast. Stalactites hung from the ceiling, reflecting in the stone. Heir stepped carefully onto the slippery stone. The echo of footsteps echoed through the cave, mingling with drops of water. He froze, noticing the stalactites on the walls and ceiling. This place must have never been walked on before. Suddenly, a bright, plowing light blinds the protagonist. The protagonist doesn't realize where the source of this light is and why it is shining directly into his eyes. He sees some figure in front of him. That's where all this light is coming from, filling the darkness of the cave with its brightness. Behind all this light is a single elder in a kimono who stands in a pose in the middle of this cave. Warren froze in front of the massive En and Yong symbol carved into the rock. The young man's eyes widened. It was the key to the heavenly tom of the depths. He says that if this symbol is here, this man, mysterious heavenly Dao Taizi, is the immortal Zhang Sanfeng. The guy realizes that there's a deep heavenly canon has to be around here somewhere. He also notices the blood to the right of the altar and looks around for a cat in the neighborhood. The silence was broken by a long howl that echoed through the dungeon. Heir finally found the white cat in the middle of the cave, covered in abrasions and wounds. The three were in the cave, and Guy retreated toward the exit, showing fear for the first time in a day. Outside, young Cheol is already waiting for them and is very concerned for their well-being. He hears some sound and asks, "Isn't that a cat coming out of the gap?" The first thing he sees is a head with a huge amount of hair that juts out in front of the protagonist's entire body. He's freaked out by it. It's not every day you see someone else's hair crawling on you from a strange cave. When the vision returned, the group found themselves in a completely different composition. The protagonist had accomplished his mission. Beaksel sat in the clan heir's arms, licking his paw. There was something suspiciously like satisfaction in his gaze. Cheol Ryong anxiously examined Beaksel's wound. His movements slowed down after noticing that the injury was superficial. The healer treated the animal's paw with a healing ointment. The bandage applied gently fixed the injury without restraining movement. But the protagonist was no longer thinking about the cat. He turned away from the boy, and the aura of the narrative darkened dramatically. He shows the very manuscript he was trying to find in the cave, and the narrative goes back about 10 minutes. Then in the cave, Heir approached the kitty and began stroking him, addressing him, and saying that his master was very much concerned about his fate. The kid examines the cat's wounds and says he's been led to believe they're shallow and will heal quickly. He thinks about the fact that perhaps this cat is here because it is the pet of a great immortal master. The guy takes the kitty with him on his way out and says he needs to go to his owner right away for proper care. He decided to take one last look at the great sage and seeing something that shocked him very much. Heir sees the immortal's body gradually turn to dust and scatter on the wind in the cave. He runs up to him thinking to help him somehow, but it's clearly too late. Half of his body is dispelled by now. In the place of the wizard himself, he saw what he was looking for in this cave, besides the kitty. In the cave, he finds a book, the Canon of the Mysterious Heavenly Tai Chi Dao, a simple orange-bound book. He reflects on the fact that if he hadn't followed the cat into the cave, he would never have found the ancient manuscript. This surprises him. Heir remembered a past life where helping a child seemed pointless. Now every action was leading to change. He makes sense of his changes and talks about the even greater changes ahead. The young man was determined to elevate the Tianzhong clan. His plans included not only strength, but also wise rule. Thoughts of a happy family strengthened the resolve. Even small steps became part of a grandiose goal. The guy claims he would do everything in his power to fulfill his plans for his clan and family. The healer completed the bandaging, making sure there were no complications. Beaksel stretched, showing improvement. The boy nodded approvingly, appreciating the old man's skills. He says he wasn't seriously injured and will be on the mend soon. After his hike, he returns to the team with good news. They were already waiting for him in the cabinet room. He sees the enraged bodyguards and Master Mo, who rebuked the young master for making them wait for a very long time. The girl demanded a coordinated action. Her harsh tone hid her concern for the group's safety. Heir apologized for his absence, mentioning a find more valuable than ginseng. He had found it while he was helping the boy with the search for the kitty. Mo Byun crossed her arms, waiting for an explanation. Now the master ordered everyone to pack up, and soon they would be leaving this beautiful place. The girl stands her ground and asks, "What is the find? How can it be better than ginseng?" He says that what he has found is the future. He turns and smiles through his teeth at his subordinates. The whole group is left in shock, not quite understanding what he wants to tell them and what he has found. He approached the healer and his grandson and bid them a kind farewell, thanking them for their help and good hospitality. The boy is saddened by the fact that Guy is already leaving, leaving them alone in this peaceful wilderness. The heir says not to worry and hands the healer's grandson an amulet with the clan crest. The gesture symbolized gratitude and future support. The boy embarrassedly accepted the gift, hiding it in the folds of his clothes. If he brought it to the clan, they would help him and give him whatever he wanted. Just before he leaves, he turns to this family and talks about how he will always be happy to see them again. At last, there is a dialogue between them about the little boy who had been so well treated by Mr. The healer asked why a noble young man would help a simple herbalist. Why did they deserve such good treatment? Heir recognized the original interest in the manuscript. Now his goals had expanded to the protection of the weak. He talks about while he was here a lot, watching everyone around him, and in particular the boy. Guy watched the child thoughtfully, comparing his persistence to her own past. A rare semblance of nostalgia flashed in her eyes. That's what he said. This boy reminds him of him as a child, and this revelation shocks the old healer. They wave to each other, dreaming of meeting again and spending time together. Master Mo raised an eyebrow when she heard about the awarding of the jade plaque. Her fingers involuntarily clutched the edge of her cloak, hiding her excitement. Heir explained the boy's value beyond material gifts. The words sounded firm, as if carved in stone. The girl nodded, approving of the heir's opinion and feelings. Her trust in the young man grew with each unexpected decision. In the next shot, Guy sits at his desk in the manor and contemplates his business. The unexpected offer of help took the group by surprise. Yunhwa embarrassedly offered her services, accepting the new terms of cooperation. He recalls the first time he met Yun Hwu at his estate and accepted her help as a maid. The action returns back to reality, and Mo Byun barely held back a smile as she noticed the heir's unusual liveliness. The boy muttered something about misplaced joy, but his voice was drowned in the noise of the horses stomping. The decision to return to the clan caused quiet confusion. The master shifted his gaze between the map and the stubborn expression on the heir's face. Mo Byun abruptly stopped her horse, reminding her of the formal engagement. Her tone sounded like a hidden rebuke for neglecting her duties. The boy shook his head, whispering about the risks of a premature visit. His words went unheeded, but the anxiety didn't disappear. Heir firmly repeated the order to return. Arguments about demonstrating health could not change his mind. The boy suddenly jumped up on his saddle, interrupting the argument. The smell of blood could be smelled around them. It surrounded them all around, but most of all came from one point, and Master Mo pointed in the direction of the appearance of the odor. They go deep into that odor and find something disgusting, piles of tortured bodies lying around. The brutality of the fight had left a heavy residue. Chan-wook wiped his eyes and nose, avoiding looking at the aftermath. Mo Byun turned away. Her principles did not allow her to interfere in other people's squabbles. However, her fingers trembled on the hilt of her sword. The bodyguard muttered grimly about the laws of combat, where the fittest survive. His usual cheerfulness evaporated. Heir froze in place, inner conflict reflected in his eyes. Rationalism struggled with a sudden attack of compassion. But he suddenly says that they have no business being here. He turns around and gallops away from the place. The sudden change of heart took everyone by surprise. Jong-wook barely had time to intercept the heir's hand as he turned his horse around. The boy sighed, realizing principles sacrificed to conscience. Her sword came out of its sheath with a quiet clang. He lowered his gaze, for he realized that all these corpses were members of the Jaegel family's guard, the one they had originally traveled to. The group halted their horses near the scene of the clash. Muffled shouts and the clanking of weapons came from behind the rocks. Mo Byun suggested that we should go inside quickly to see what kind of carnage was going on. The boy nodded and decided that they would continue on foot so as not to draw too much attention to his person. The bodyguards are walking, remembering the recent fight with the bloodline. His fingers involuntarily clenched the hilt of his sword, preparing for the worst. Kvaran suggested first assessing the situation. His experience suggested that blind intervention could turn into a disaster. He froze on guard, his ears twitching warily. He could smell the blood more and more strongly. The next thing they saw was carnage, meat and blood everywhere. Bodies fell one after another. At the center of the battle flashed a figure in white, Yahello. Her sword was making deadly patterns, surrounded by bodyguards. He recognized the emblem of the Zagel clan on the shields of their opponents. It explained the scale of the clash, not a common bandit raid. Warren held his breath as he watched the girl's technique. Even in her rage, her movements retained a graceful precision. He muttered about the demons of Mount Wong. The old legends suddenly took on a frightening reality. Paths of white smoke suddenly formed around the snake-masked man. Fighters in white robes and snake masks were methodically surrounding the Zagel clan. They had already killed the clan's uncle. The little girl is shocked at the cruelty of all these people destroying their clan. The guy asks Mo Bien if she knows the masked men, but she says she doesn't know them. He realizes that at this time the whole world has not yet learned about this snake warrior. But the boy recognized the symbol of the green blood viper. Rumors of the brutality of this squad spread even in the remote provinces. In the future, they will subdue many lands and kill a huge number of warriors. They are very strong in martial arts. Warren remembered the stories of Duk Sang, who had created elite assassins. The mythical pill of life had given him divine power. The boy frowned, analyzing the tactics of the attackers. Every movement was designed to quickly defeat the enemy. The reason for the attack on the Zagel clan remained a mystery. Averin frantically went over possible motives, from revenge to artifact hunting. Our hero's gaze drifts to the crowd, who are fighting not for life, but for death. He notices something and instantly loses his mind. It immediately energizes him and makes him bloodthirsty. He rushes forward and his subordinates call out to him, but there is no stopping him. He will go forward. Warren heard an inner voice rebuking his recklessness. Acquiring the Taiji Tom and the poison flower required caution. The voice reminded him of his vow to change the future of the clan. His words sounded like a rebuke, making the young man clench his fists. Averin made his decision. The sword came out of its sheath with a quiet clang, reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. He didn't understand why he was fighting. One of the snake warriors is already on his way to behead the Zagel clan girl. He's getting ready to strike, and there are millimeters between his blade, and the girl's head are millimeters away. But abruptly, the warrior's head flies off from a blow from our protagonist. He went into battle to protect all his allies. Everyone around them was left in shock at being hit so quickly and at the unexpected helper from outside. Yahello met farinch. Something akin to recognition flashed in her eyes. Surprise was reflected on the faces of the attackers. The rumors about Tianzhong's weak air were clearly not true. The main man sends more snakes to strike, interrupting the guy. The warrior's sword was pointed at the head of both men in front of him. Mo Bayan parried the blow, covering the boy. Her sword emitted sparks as it reflected the steel claws of the vipers. Averin is asked about his origin of power, but he says that now is clearly not the place to talk. The past year had changed the situation beyond recognition. Averin's group was now a coherent fighting force, not random travelers. The leader of the attackers grinned contemptuously, seeing no threat in their words. His confidence was based on the numerical superiority and fatigue of the Zagel clan's fighters. Mo Bayan quickly assessed the situation. A direct confrontation was indeed suicidal, but it was really the only solution. The leader of the serpents said that it didn't matter who they were. He would kill them just as quickly as he had killed every other human before. Averin himself realizes both the superiority in numbers and the fatigue of his allies. This greatly hinders his plan to strike the serpents. He sees the snakes advancing ever closer to him, aiming not even at him, but at his allies behind him. He realizes that he needs to do something to get most of his men out of here alive and defeat the snakes as quickly as possible. Suddenly, Mo Bien abruptly turned to Warren, her voice ringing with rage. She said she would fight the snakes. The accusation of cowardice struck a nerve with the young man. The serpent sneers about the fact that he supposedly hid behind some lady. But in response, Heir calls him a bastard who doesn't understand anything and can't see that he wasn't hiding for anyone. The leader of the Vipers mockingly observed the scene. His hand was already rising to signal the final attack. The young gentleman rushes forward to attack the snakes. Mo tries to grab and stop him, but she can't do anything. The bodyguard stops Mo, saying that the master himself knows best what he should do. The unexpected outburst of anger on Heir's part caused bewilderment. The opponent even paused his fighting stance, assessing the strange reaction. Snakes took the moment to regroup his forces. His abrupt gestures guided his sword toward the hero. Snake grinned involuntarily. The enemy leader was losing his cool, and that was more dangerous than any battle technique. He asked what the young lord is up to. He went in for the attack strangely, and it's unclear where to aim. Heir's lightning-fast attack should have cut off his opponent's arm. However, the Viper leader had time to react, even blindly. He noted his enemy's skill. Such reflexes spoke of years of training. His own sword sang as it came out of its sheath. The boy rushed forward, covering his own. His shield took a series of blows, the metal ringing with tension. In the air flies the severed finger of the snake commander, who thought he had not been touched by the gun. Guy used the moment to counterattack. Her blade left a bloody mark on the Viper leader's arm. Heir admits that he wanted to chop off his entire arm. This time it didn't work. In the next attack, he'll try to do it right. Despite the danger, Heir remained focused on the main target. His gaze slid to the serpent. Mo Byun shouted a warning, but it was too late. The young man rushed forward, ignoring the arrows flying at him. Chanwoo cursed, rushing after him. His armor jingled under the hail of blows, but he couldn't stop the air. They stood in front of each other, realizing that now everything was in their hands. Nothing would prevent their battle. Heir realizes that now it's like a game of chance, where maybe only luck and skill will decide everything. The unexpected statement hung in the air. Even the leader of the Vipers froze when he heard the name Hidden Holy Cult. Warren stopped abruptly, his sword dropping a few inches. That name was not spoken aloud, not even in a whisper. Heir analyzes possible escape routes for the entire group. His gaze glides over the terrain, noting narrow paths and dangerous cliffs. He wonders how he can make sure his squad survives the encounter with these monsters. He knows that if he does something wrong, there will be many wounded. His head is almost empty, but his resolve is undiminished. A stranger demonstrates the technique of transmitting sound at a distance. His lips move silently, but the words are clearly audible in the minds of the listeners. He speaks of his affiliation with a hidden holy cult. This should help avoid a battle. Mo Byong frowns as he recognizes the hidden cult's ancient method of training. This skill requires decades of training and spiritual purity. Jong-wook listens tensely, trying to grasp the meaning of the message. His hand involuntarily gripped the hilt of his dagger. The girl notes the discrepancy between the stranger's age and his skill. The question of the man's origins becomes key. The heir tells the snake leader to tell their chief Duk-san his words, and she'll surely forgive him. The Viper leader demands to reveal the source of the information about the squad leader. His eyes narrow, assessing the veracity of the answers. Heir steps forward, covering the man. His posture shows readiness for battle, but his mind searches for a diplomatic solution. It stealthily explores its surroundings, looking for escape routes. Rocks and bushes can provide temporary shelter. The serpent uses psychological pressure techniques. He asks you to answer quickly, or he'll pull out a gun. Heir recalls the story of the destruction of the hidden cult 5 years ago. His voice sounds firm as he says he witnessed the scene. The snake leader turns sharply, surprised by the confession. He asks, is he not one of those trying to rebuild the cult? He mentions that he himself is from a hidden holy cult. This surprises the leader of the serpents. The serpent checks the reaction of his opponents. The mention of the 3 demonic heavens causes a noticeable commotion among the fighters. He points his sword towards Heir, creating a distracting noise. Dust rises in a column. The people around freeze, worrying about the future fate of young Mr. Heir. The Viper leader is skeptical of Heir's claims. His question about the cultist's affiliation with a certain heaven sounds like a trap. He tests it by asking, to which branch does it belong after all? Heir realizes this and quickly recalls the structure of the hidden cult. Thinks, which one would he belong to? The three branches, solar, lunar, and secret, have different purposes. Each of them is almost a separate organization. He thinks of sunny heaven related to martial arts. His knowledge could save the day. The moon cult is firmly tied to religion. It doesn't particularly suit him or the snakes. And the secret holy cult already controls the others, preventing conflict between them and ensuring their symbiosis. He fleshes out the story by pointing out the Viper's probable connection to some sky. Her conclusions are based on an analysis of the attacker's tactics. He reflects on the fact that the moon and secret cult would be against organizing assassins. Therefore, he concludes that the Serpent Clan is directly related to the hidden sun cult. Heir recognizes the possibility of assassins in the lunar and secret heavens. His flexible thinking demonstrates the depth of his knowledge of the cult. He realizes that now he is back in the gambling game, in which only luck decides. He decides to bet on whatever he thinks has the best chance. He raises his head and speaks confidently about being from the hidden sun cult. He is almost certain of his victory and plan. And it hits. The serpent leader orders his fighters to retreat and lowers his weapon from Heirin's neck. They leave quickly. In a second, only small clouds of dust remain on the clearing. Heir clenches his fists, feeling the aching pain of internal injuries. Each movement is labored. He was injured that time when he tried to hit hard and cut off his arm that time. The Heir silently begins to fall, covering his eyes. Soon he will be unconscious. The last thing he sees, Master Mo, who runs towards him to finally help his leader. The head of the squad wakes up in some backwater, obscure place in the middle of the forest. Heir remains at the edge of the battlefield, analyzing the aftermath of the skirmish. The dust settles, exposing the men who are scurrying around him. He surveys his surroundings, hiding the trembling in his hands. Her gaze keeps returning to the people around her. Suddenly, he notices someone to his left and turns to see the stranger who apparently brought him here. This stranger turns out to be Ms. Jagiel. She stands with her back turned to him. The stranger throws our hero a vial of thick liquid, explaining its healing properties. The smell of wormwood mingles with the iron scent of blood. Heir hesitates, but eventually accepts the gift. His fingers tremble slightly at the contact with the medicine. He says he shouldn't have helped him. After all, he wasn't doing it for any reward, just out of the call of his heart. The woman in the embroidered cloak turns sharply, hiding her annoyance. The talk of debt and gratitude has clearly hurt her pride. As she walks away, she quietly says thank you to the main character without turning around, because without him, she and her men would have died quickly in that battle. Mo Byun picks up the dropped vial, studying the crest of the Jagiel clan. The rare medicine was clearly meant for a select few. Heir hides the vessel in the folds of his clothes, avoiding questions. His silence is more eloquent than any excuse. The Heir turns around sharply at the rebuke of her recklessness and the fact that she frightened him. His eyes burn with a mixture of anger and determination. Mo Byun blocks the way, reminding him of his recent mistakes. Her words sound harsh, but she was more afraid of his health. The boy suppressed a smile as he watched the change in himself and Mo's words. The old apathy had been replaced by a dangerous determination. She puts her head on his back, shocking him. The girl is still shocked at how much the young man has changed. The master says that he used to hate the world and himself, literally living in hell, but now everything has changed. The clan woman approaches, studying Heir with renewed appraisal. This time he no doubt threw himself into the fight to save their lives. She says she's proud of him, but at the same time, she doesn't understand one thing. What drives their leader forward so much? The Heir averts his gaze, not ready to reveal his true motives. He thinks about his past again. He's trying to talk about how he feels he's too complicated for him. The trauma of losing his family is still fresh. The guy recalls all the scraps of his memory related to the total loss of his family in that fire. The image of a family in a single photograph pops up before my eyes, slowly burning around the edges, foreshadowing a terrible event. He says with confidence that he tries to do everything in his power to help everyone around him, so that he has no regrets. The action switches to all members of the squad and clan moving further forward on horseback. The clan representatives thank Heir for escorting him. He thanks him sincerely, not as if it were a learned ritual of politeness. A man from the Zagel clan points out the lack of able-bodied warriors. The man's voice is tinged with hidden irritation at his own helplessness. The heir nods, pretending that coming here was part of his plans. The true motives remain hidden behind the neutral expression on his face. The representative pretends to believe him, or he really does. At any rate, his smile looks friendly. The unexpected question about his reason for being here to meet Jongjin causes Heir to freeze. His gaze slides around, avoiding a direct answer. The interlocutor insistently lists possible motives: power, beauty, political calculation. Each word seems to test the strength of the heir's mask. Heir turns away, pretending to study the road. His posture betrays a tense attention to the dialogue. The pause drags on, filling the room with a heavy silence. Heir finally raises his eyes, ready to ask a counter-question. He asks, why did the professional Snake Killer clan decide to attack the Jagel clan specifically? He embarrasses everyone. The clan representative describes the scale of the Zagel's holdings. His gestures are broad, but his eyes are troubled. Grandeur is no defense against threats. The girl mentions the randomness of the attack, hiding her speculation. In fact, the reason is quite different. The man in the corner of the hall speaks sharply, demanding details for the man who sacrificed his life for them. The version about Yohi's attempted kidnapping is spoken through gritted teeth. The warrior woman didn't quite want to talk about it in front of anyone. The discussion of the attacker's motives turns into an analysis of political intrigue. Heir goes through theories: blackmail, revenge, search for artifacts. The clan elder acknowledges the existence of enemies, but denies leaking information. His fingers grip the table, leaving scratches in the wood. Heir points out the contradictions in the assassin's actions. Preserving Yohi's life clearly contradicts their brutal tactics. But still, after what time of discussion, the representative of the clan himself guesses and accepts the version that information leaks from within the clan. They enter a beautiful city, and everyone around them greets this clan with cheers and applause. The group approaches the clan gate, and now they're standing alone with the clan representative. Silence all around, and thoughts fly through their heads. Warren interrupts the silence with a mention of Jianjian. His voice sounds steady, but his fingers involuntarily clench the edge of his cloak. A man from the clan comments derisively on the formality of the engagement. Words about different lives strike a painful theme. He recalls how he was constantly sick and his dear wife studied martial arts for the sake of the clan. The sunbeam highlights the dust in the air, emphasizing the tense atmosphere. Heir briefly describes the past: the illness, the estrangement of his fiancée, the severing of ties. His tone is devoid of emotion. He recounts a very painful experience for him. The listener nods, recalling the rumors of a weak heir. The comparison with the young man's current confidence is one of hidden surprise. Heir realizes that he must now go to the head of the clan. He puts his subordinates down to rest. The ceremonial greeting sounds like a challenge. The head of the Zagel clan slowly walks around Heir, assessing the change in his posture and gaze. The comment about health is said with feigned surprise. The question, "How do you do?" contains an implicit mockery. The clan head takes a step forward, ready to cheerfully greet the healthy young man. His shadow falls flat on the kid. He asks how the leader of the clan to which Heir belongs is doing. At this time, he takes him by the shoulders in a friendly way. He says the head of the clan is fine. Everyone is in perfect health, and they are in no danger. The heir to the Tianzhong clan receives greetings and compliments from the head of the Zagel clan. The compliment about physical fitness sounds like a hidden test of skills. The mention of Jianjian causes a slight tension. The young man modestly deflects the praise while maintaining a neutral expression. An apology for the lingering conversation interrupts the awkward pause. A gesture toward the door indicates the presence of a waiting guest. He says that the girl is already waiting for her future husband. The head of the clan smiles and winks at the young man. The guy takes the hint, and after thanking the clan head, he is about to leave further on his own. Before leaving, the clan head mentions a chance encounter with another guest. The age similarity should mitigate the formality. Heir nods, pretending to be interested in the conversation. His gaze slides to the clock, counting the time until the scheduled meeting. The Jaegal clan representative stealthily retreats, leaving the guests alone. The whispering of servants outside the door hints at preparations for something important. The Satron studies the new guest's posture, noting the battle scars on his arms. A seasoned warrior, even at rest, gives off a habit of fighting. Our protagonist is already walking down the street and contemplating the fact that he is about to have another encounter. He walks down the street and notices two people arguing with each other. Something is going on. An attempt to transmit a message is interrupted by the news that there are no addressees. Annoyance flashes in his eyes, but is quickly replaced by neutrality. The servant insistently demands a name, despite the obvious hurry. His tone betrays a strict adherence to protocol. He turns his head, and our protagonist feels like he's known this man for a long time. Jacqueline of the Gongshun clan introduces himself with exaggerated courtesy. His smile does not hide his competitive interest. The mocking comment about being engaged to Jian makes Warren tense up. His fingers involuntarily clench the folds of his clothes. The guy turns out to be the very guest, and he is here to visit the mistress as well. Our protagonist doesn't like that. Jacqueline defiantly shakes hands with his rival for the young lady's heart. Now, something interesting is about to begin. The conversation about the Songshun clan quickly turns to the engagement. There's a real hunt for the lady's heart. The guy masterfully weaves barbs into compliments, while disarming his competitor. The mention of the heir's recent illness sounds like a hidden reproach. Kvarin replies evasively, turning the subject to political alliances. A servant approaches the two people arguing. An imaginary commotion creates an excuse to interrupt the uncomfortable dialogue. He hands the two stubborn morons an invitation to the training ground, which takes them by surprise. They go at her, realizing that now it is possible that they will clash in a fight for the lady's honor and heart. The monotony of the ceremonies is downright boring. Kvarin's gaze wanders around the site. They see the katana flying at them and barely dodge at the last second. A casual glance out the window reveals a view of Jian practicing with her sword. Her movements are precise and uncluttered. Jacqueline joins in the observation, letting loose a quip about skill progression. His voice sounds too loud for an intimate conversation. The shadow from the cloud slides across the courtyard, hiding Jian's figure from view for a moment. She says she's bored practicing with such weaklings. The legendary snowflower blade returned with the trophy of a demon's head. The news of the deed instantly spread to the surrounding lands. Chongyan of the Jaegal clan confirmed the title of Swordmaster. Her name was now associated with an unrivaled martial art. A warrior in the crowd chuckled upon hearing of her fanatical dedication to training. Skepticism mingled with involuntary admiration. The elders whispered, trying to understand the source of the girl's power. The versions range from secret techniques to mystical artifacts. Jian appears before everyone, marveling at her beauty that hides her strong and invincible fighting spirit. He looks at her from the crowd, and he pays attention only to him. No other man in the crowd has been honored with such attention. Now he's back to reality in the present and studying how she behaves on the battlefield during training. The title Snowflower has become an integral part of Jian's name. Her skill eclipsed many veterans despite her young age. The man in the clan leader's entourage nodded, remembering her first training. No one had believed in such a meteoric rise. By the age of 40, Jian had become one of the 3 strongest swordswomen on the continent. Her fame transcended the boundaries of the clan lands. Our protagonist's rival immediately flew ahead, trying to flatter the girl and starting to be obsessive. The girl inquired as to the reason for the frequent visits. Her gaze slid to the training yard, where a familiar figure flashed by. Jian interrupted the class when she learned of Waren's engagement. Her reaction was a mystery even to her closest companions. When she sees him, she runs up to him because she really loves him more than anyone. The meeting after a long separation was modest. Kvaran reported that his health had been restored. Jian examines the ex-fiancé, noting the changes in his health. The guy explains that he's fine now. The question about the length of stay sounded hopeful of a long time together. Turning down the offer to stay hung in the air, he would have to leave early tomorrow morning. Kvaran insistently asked for a private conversation tomorrow after practice. His fingers clenched the folds of his cloak, betraying his inner tension. Jian nodded without expressing any objections. Now, the head hero would have to go on about his business. The shadow of the ginkgo tree slid across the yard, counting down the time until the decisive conversation. His rival is furious. After all, he was rejected immediately without even trying to talk. He doesn't yet realize that he can't get his hands on his mistress's heart. In the next shot, Guy is sitting in his cabin quietly and silently, but he sees a shadow approaching his cabin. The silence lengthened until Jian interrupted it with a direct question. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed curiosity. Warren froze, picking up the words. Jiaquang entered the room. The importance of the moment demanded perfect wording. The confession of affection came out of the blue. Jian was the lover of the guy in yellow, and he didn't want to accept the competition and losing in this case. A sneer about his lack of manners hid the confusion. His fingers involuntarily clenched the hilt of his practiced sword. The guy continued by mentioning her passion for martial arts. The compliment sounded like a subtle hint of shared goals. He held his breath and talked about how he was also looking for more power like this girl. Jiaquang says that the guy opposite is weaker than him, but the protagonist is not as simple as he seems. Kvaran listened to the praise of his title Azure Dragonblade. His face remained unperturbed, though his fingers lightly clutched the edge of his cloak. Jiaquang coldly recalled the young man's recent recovery. His tone emphasized the discrepancy between fame and actual capabilities. The heir lowered his gaze, Jiaquang hinting at the protagonist's lack of feelings for this girl. The sharp order to leave the room sounded like a whiplash. Waren continued her lessons, slapping the ignorant man's arm defiantly. But the sneaky man had a backup plan. Behind his back, he kept holding a glass vial with some liquid substance. It must be some kind of poison. But something makes him not use it and hide it up his sleeve. Guy stands up and says that Waren doesn't deserve everything he has. Waren appreciated the look in this guy's eyes. He'd obviously want to do something bad. He might have to use the manuscript sooner than he wanted to. Yohi's visit at a late hour caused slight confusion. Sister Jian looked at the guest with an appraising eye, comparing her memories of Mount Wudong. She asked about whether he was really leaving early tomorrow morning. Why that? Why not stay longer? Waren briefly explained his reasons for leaving early. The mention of the bride's training sounded like a convenient excuse. The question of marriage hung in the air like a blade on a thin thread. Yohi raised an eyebrow playfully, waiting for a sincere answer. The heir avoided a direct answer, citing formal reasons. His gaze slid to the door, looking for a way out. The action shifts to the next day on Waren's move from the city. Clan members ask why on earth is he leaving so quickly? He says he only came to greet everyone, and now he must go on to his own lands. The clan representative says he's sorry. After all, Mrs. Jian will be very sad about his departure. Waren approaches the girl, offering to talk to her in private, but suddenly something strange happens. Jiaquang interrupted the conversation, introducing himself with contrived importance. His title, Azure Dragonblade, sounded like a challenge. He swears to everything, and his last words were that he challenges his direct rival for the girl's heart to a duel. Jiaquang insisted on a duel, mocking Waren's fortune. His words of dishonor hurt the heir's pride. Jian sharply denounced the challenge, recalling the young man's recent injuries. Her voice sounded icy, cutting off further provocation. Heir remained silent, inwardly struggling between duty and physical weakness. The thought of defending the honor of the clan outweighed the fear. The girl stepped forward, offering to postpone the duel. Her arguments about the fairness of the terms went unheeded. Jacqueline laughed defiantly, swinging his sword. The jewel-encrusted scabbard glistened in the sun. Heir nodded slowly, accepting the challenge. His fingers trembled as he clutched the hilt of the restored family sword. The guardian turned sharply, harboring mixed feelings. Approval was mixed with anxiety for the leader's life. Mo Bayan checked the fastenings of the heir's armor. Now she would no longer want to stop the clan heir. Heir smiled contentedly, kneading his wrists. The prospect of battle already pleased him. Mo Bayan whispered words of encouragement, knowing Waren's true motives. Her faith in him remained unshaken. Heir took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. Every movement from now on was subordinate to duty to the clan. Mo crosses her arms, watching the preparations. She makes a point of completely trusting the guy in his endeavor and will always be for him. Heir looks at her with joy. He's pleased that the people close to him believe in him so much and are changing. Heir announced loudly that he had accepted the challenge. His voice, once weak, now sounded firm and confident. Jacqueline snorted contemptuously, considering his victory a foregone conclusion. His stance showed his disdain for his opponent. The first blow of the gong heralded the start of the fight, making the audience hold their breath. The referee announced the strict rules: no lethal techniques and no use of chi. Losing a sword meant defeat. Heir felt a cold sweat on his back. The injuries reminded him of themselves, but it was too late to retreat. Jacqueline offered a wager, snapping his fingers mockingly. His terms included public humiliation of the loser. The guy clenched his fists, ready to break the rules at the threat of his life. A wager is now offered by our Heir, his opponent marveling at the courage of a once sick and weak man. Warren offered a harsh condition. The loser would leave the lands of the Jagal clan forever. His smile hid his confidence in his own victory. Jacqueline nodded, accepting the challenge. The risk of losing access to the clan seemed negligible in the face of protecting honor. The boy pressed his lips together, realizing the implications of the bet. His gaze slid to the training yard, where everything would be decided. The girl watched the negotiations grimly. Her fingers clenched. She realized the importance of winning this bet. The elders whispered as they assessed the heir's courage. The bets on the outcome of the duel divided the hall into two camps. Now the two competitors have only one thing left to do before the fight to prepare for it to begin. The crowd exploded in anticipation of a glorious battle between the two young men. Everyone was thinking about their winner, but everyone wanted an interesting fight. The clan servants argued about Heir's chances. Some remembered his victory over the mercenaries, others his pallor and trembling hands. Sister Jian took a seat among the spectators. She was thinking about whether boyfriend could win. A clan representative nearby spoke that he knows the outcome of the battle. Prince Yun will lose. The judge recalled the rules against fatal blows. The use of chi was limited to level the playing field. Heir focused on his breathing, ignoring the aching pain in his chest. Every movement required precision, not force. Jacqueline bowed his head mockingly, showing disdain. His sword made a complex arc in the air, a challenge of skill. His nickname had come about for a reason. The spokesman says this duel will be a difficult one. The skill and experience of one fighter is greater than the other. Chanying noticed a subtle trembling in Waren's fingers. The thought of his defeat suddenly became unbearable. Jacqueline Riley compared the Tianzhong clan to worms. His words echoed around the courtyard, causing murmurs of disapproval. Heir let the insult pass his ears. Anger could destroy the concentration needed for precise movements. Jian stood up abruptly, but her sister held her hand. To interfere would be a violation of the fight and the honor of the clan. Jacqueline intensified his onslaught, trying to throw his opponent off balance. His blows became sharper, but they lost their precision. Heir took a step back, moving away from the attack. The blade of his sword froze in a defensive stance. The shadow of a cloud covered the venue, creating a fleeting chill. The audience held its breath, anticipating the denouement. The two rivals sparklingly approached each other, preparing to kill and throw. Lightning flew between their blades from the force of the blow. Jacquin launched a series of swift attacks. His sword flickered like a snake, but each strike was met with an insurmountable defense. Heir parried his blows with unnatural precision. He seemed to read his opponent's intentions before they were translated into action. Bayan held her breath as she noticed the subtle trembling in the heir's hand. The internal injuries were making themselves felt. Jian crossed her arms as she watched the fight. Her face remained unperturbed, but her nails dug into her palms. "Let's have some fun." Jacquin's provocation sounded harsh. His blade whistled, arcing in deadly arcs. The heir silently repelled the attacks. Every movement was economical, as if his body was acting on autopilot. The attacker's irritation was growing. How did the weak young man anticipate every trajectory? The boy recognized the signs of using chi. The energy pulsed around Heir, intensifying his reflexes. Chi pierced through Waren's vision. The world slowed, exposing the energy traces of the blows. A technique only available to masters. Jacquin attacked fiercely, but the heir's blade intercepted every lunge. The metal tinkled, sending out a shower of sparks. He doesn't understand. Are these abilities all also the work of the old demon sitting inside him? The boy barely held back an exclamation. He knew the price of such a technique. Years of meditation and forbidden scrolls. Jacquin tried to trick his opponent with a feint. The punch that follows now will be difficult to block. The blade of the Sunshine Clan flashed with a blue glow. The Great Sword of Azure Clouds was a legendary technique that swept away everything in its path. Warren stepped back, feeling the pressure of chi. His own sword trembled, but did not break under the pressure. Jian showed emotion for the first time ever. Her eyebrows twitched in surprise. Even she hadn't expected this level of strength. Bayan glanced at the judge, but he remained indifferent. The rules allowed the use of chi to a limited extent. Jacquin roared, putting all his fury into the blow. The air swirled around the blade. Heir wasn't lagging behind either, and his yellow aura also began to fight the blue glow of the enemy. The yellow dragon has begun its confrontation against the blue glow. The battle is gaining more and more momentum. A strong blow from the blue sword knocks our protagonist off his feet, causing him to fall to the ground. Jacquin's final lunge should have severed his arm. The blade whistled through the air, striking our hero. Warren disappeared from the attack area using instant teleportation. The shadow step technique was a legacy of the Tianzhong clan, but his arm was damaged. Silence hung over the courtyard. Even the wind stood still, as if holding its breath. Jacquin raised his weapon again. His face was contorted with a mixture of rage and humiliation. Jacquin attacked furiously, revealing the clan's secret technique. His movements became chaotic, mixing anger with despair. Heir parried the blow, showing his composure. His eyes burned with a hatred devoid of his former arrogance. He strapped the sword to his hand to keep fighting for the lady of his heart. This infuriated the Jacquin and made him even more eager to not only maim, but kill the protagonist. He stepped forward without stopping. The rules of the duel had bound his actions, but he was not obeying them now. The reminder of Jian was the last straw. Jacquin lost control, turning the fight into an assassination attempt. Heir dodged the deadly blows. Every movement cost him inhuman effort because of old injuries. The girl shouted, demanding that the fight be stopped. Her voice trembled, breaking the image of the impassive observer. The judge froze, hesitant to intervene. The stakes were higher than the formal rules. They looked together at the girl for whom it had all begun. She froze in wonder and admiration at what she was seeing now. Heir recognized his own hypocrisy. The idea of knowing the future crumbled under the weight of real actions. The young man remembered the stolen years of a child. Guilt squeezed his throat, but he continued the fight, atoning for his mistakes with action. But now he's changed. He will not run from his fight. He will take the fight with honor and fight like he believes. He will walk right into the center of the storm and the battle. Therein lies his courage and unafraid Jacqueline. Heir accepted the past with its mistakes. The decision to help others became a shield against inner demons. Jacqueline slowed his attack, surprised by the change in his opponent. Anger began to give way to bewilderment. The guy drew his sword and filled it with energy and headed straight for his opponent's forehead. Jacqueline raised his weapon. His chi intensified. He was furious, ready now only to kill for words. Heir recalled the heritage of the Dragon Clan. His voice sounded like a chime, awakening pride in the hearts of his allies. Jacqueline lowered his head, realizing defeat. The title Azure Dragon Blade had lost its former luster, and Heir hit him, blazing fire all over the place, changing the color of everything around him. The shadow of the Tianzhong clan's banner covered the grounds, symbolizing the restored order. The last thing we see is the dragon sign, affirming the strength and rebirth of this lineage.